What's up, everybody? I'm back with another episode of the Keep Going podcast. Today's guest is Robert English. He's an accomplished real estate investor and real estate agent here in Oklahoma City. He's a man that's lived multiple lives. At a young age, he struggled with addiction, had a child young, and has lived through very, very hard circumstance. He made bad decisions, spent time in jail, but chose to get closer to God and change his life completely. Since then, he scaled multiple six figures, even seven figures in real estate. He's built his real estate portfolio. He's created a business with him and his wife, and they're flourishing in every way possible. And it just goes to show why being vulnerable, pushing through, and staying dedicated to the right things are so important. I can't thank him enough for being honest and sharing so many details about the wrong decisions, but also the right decisions and the ability to take action and be accountable and just keep going. I can't thank you enough, Robert. I hope you all enjoy this episode. It was a blessing to sit down with him. As always, keep going. Well, Robert, I appreciate you so much.
Absolutely. I appreciate the invite.
It's good to see you, man. I know we were playing tag a little bit because I had some stuff going on, but I appreciate you, man. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, we made it, huh?
Yeah, we made it.
Yeah,
and
I appreciate that.
I'm very happy of meeting people throughout the real estate process and building that real connection. We've been around each other for about 2 or 3 years now. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to meet good people. So I appreciate you sharing the space.
Yeah, I've enjoyed our journey together. So
yes, sir. It's been fast paced.
It has. We're going down, I feel like the same road, but 2 different paths, obviously. So yeah. We're not in the same office with each other, but we've definitely been around for a couple of years. And
definitely been in the same spaces.
Our relationship that we've been able to develop.
Yeah, I still remember having a good combo with you and your wife at Bast. When Tez was throwing that first event. And you're like, man, I'm excited to get on stage. And I was like, I know, me too. And that seems like so long ago. And it was only 2 years or so, but so much has been accomplished since then. So congrats to all your success, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I appreciate you wanting to share your story. So I want to learn more about you, man. Take me back, where you're from, what it was like growing up. Just take me along the journey.
Okay. So, I'm from Oklahoma City, or Oklahoma. I was born in Midwest City and grew up just out east of Choctaw. So I went to Carl Albert schools for most of my upbringing. Stayed in the same, I moved around a lot when I was little, but once I got into like 4th grade, stayed in the same school, went to the Carl Albert junior high, then the high school. High school is whenever, things started getting real interesting for me, as far as my family dynamic, just when my addictions started happening.
So high school time?
Oh yeah, when I was 14 is I started, using intravenous drug use for the first time.
What's intravenous mean?
I shot up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was into meth. So
wow, at 14.
At 14, yeah. So
what was the feeling like at 14? Like just a rush, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a huge rush, yeah. So it was one of my dad's girlfriends. She's not recently, she passed away a long time ago, but she introduced me to it, to the needle while I was in high school. I was living with her for a little bit, and then it was all over from there, man. It was one of those things where, I have a very addictive personality. So once I find something, good or bad, I just latch on, And so I got latched onto that. And then I moved around a little bit, but whenever I came back home, I met my first wife, which is my oldest daughter's mother. I met her when I was in high school. She came from a family that her stepfather was in a motorcycle club. Mm-hmm. So I was not around them as much, the club, but just around him and, their way of life. And I loved it. It was like, it was party all day party all day, party all night. And, she got to just go and do whatever. So we just had free reign to just be kids and do all the effing up you could imagine. I mean,
and you were riding at that time too?
No, not at that time.
Not at that time.
That didn't happen till later. Obviously I knew how to ride, but I didn't have my own bike at that point.
That's interesting though, to think their way of life was interesting because like it's It's high octane. So
Oh,
addictive
yeah.
personality style, like that's the lifestyle.
Yeah, big time. Of course, I rode dirt bikes and stuff when I was little. I was too poor to own one. So, I wrecked all my friends' bikes.
Yeah, you rode the shit out of them.
Yeah.
You got the
Oh,
chance.
yeah. Heck yeah. All the time. So, there's some friends that probably still think back and cuss me in their mind for tearing up their bikes.
Oh, I'm sure.
My cousin for sure, Ori, he had a Suzuki one time that I don't even know how I did. I was doing donuts on it, broke it, and had to walk it home. And he still brings that up at any chance he gets about how I broke his bike. So
That's some guy stuff for sure.
yeah, that's my guy though. It's one of my oldest best friends is my cousins. So, but yeah, so that I grew up in that life. I was real fast, and then my Stephanie, Skylar's mom, she got pregnant whenever I was about 15 and a half. She was 16. And so whenever she came to me and said, "Hey, I'm pregnant," I remember very clearly that day was the last day I did drugs that day. So stopped doing that, went and got me a job. And, no, I didn't go get a job right away. I kept going to school. I'm young, I'm freaking out a little bit.
15 and a half. I'm sure, baby.
Yeah. So, and then, so I was a dad in high school, and she was a mom. We had literally a shotgun wedding. Her stepdad, my father-in-law, was literally there with a shotgun. One of those, y'all are getting married. You're having a baby, you're getting married. He was the one that was the road captain for the motorcycle club. So very serious guy. It was, so I followed through with it. I got married to her, and
At 15 and a half.
I think, by that time, the baby Skylar was already born, so it was a little bit after that. So it was I was still in high school.
Yeah.
I was in high school and I was married.
What the heck?
And then, as would have it, was running around with, fast women and fast bikes and stuff. So she ended up having an affair on me, and found out about that. Of course, we split. I moved in with my aunt. At that point is when I moved to Dale City. So that was right after 11th grade. So in my senior year, at that point, Skylar, my daughter, was like 18 months at that point. And so then I moved into my aunt's house in Dale City, switched over to Dale City High School. I got custody of my daughter. And so I started the custody battle. I didn't get custody until I was right around about 18. Was when I actually got full custody of her. And when I got full custody, Mom split. She took off with the dude she was with and headed out to Florida or California. She went some direction.
That's crazy how much life experience you had from 14 to 18, though.
Oh, yeah, it was
You had the
crazy.
addiction, then you're getting married, then you're getting an affair, then you're having the kid.
Yeah, I had full custody. I was
like
18.
you were doing a lot.
Yeah, by the time I was 18, I'd already, went
Lived
through
a
a full-blown meth shooting addiction and been married and divorced and I was a single parent.
What was it like
18.
doing hard drugs for that year and a half and then stopping? Like,
Oh, it was, from what I remember, what I know now, it had to have been horrible. But from what I remember, it was just one of those things where it's just, hey, we have a kid. It was just one of those things. I was always brought up in the family where,
you handle business.
you take care of your kids. And
I
so,
love how you just switched it, though.
Yeah.
Because you're a child. And you're doing drugs, so your brain is not there.
I had no reason not to do
And then you
drugs,
just said, boom, that's cool.
Yeah, at one point I had no reason. At that point, when I started, I had no reason not to do drugs. Like I said, my mom and dad got a divorce. My dad was a partier. I can tell you, growing up, from the time my mom and dad got divorced, and while I was doing drugs, I was, getting high and partying with my dad and his friends and stuff. My dad was just a guy that everybody knew was just a partier, and so I had just a couple rules when I was growing up. I couldn't do drugs unless he was aware of it. Like and his reasoning for that was just that he wanted to make sure I didn't get anything bad, or too much and overdose, And my curfew was that I had to be home in the morning. I had to be home before he woke up to go to work in the morning. That was pretty much it. Other than that, you do whatever you want.
Yeah,
I got
all
to
right,
bring
5, 6
home.
a.m.
Yeah, whatever. As long as by the time he woke up, he didn't have to start looking for me, I was good. So that was it. I had no real structure when it came to that. Of course, my mom wanted me to have structure, but at that point, there wasn't really like a custody battle. We were old enough at that point, me and my brother, to just say,
Make a decision.
Yeah, we want to live with Dad, because of course he's let us shoot guns and party and, bring home women and, we got to do just whatever we wanted to.
It's like, why would I not choose this?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. My mom wouldn't live with my grandma, who I love to death, but it was Granny,
The rules.
Yeah. She was go get a switch, you're in trouble, or, so definitely not living there. So I'll live with Dad.
So at Dale City, you're almost 18,
Yeah.
and you have the 18-month-old daughter.
She's about 18 months old at that point. And so I was in high school. I had to go get my first job was at Sonic in Dale City, right there off Sunny Lane.
Now, that was the street I grew up on till I was about 7 or 8 years old. Right behind that, you're talking about 44th.
Yeah, 44th and Sunny Lane. Yeah,
I was right there.
The neighborhood, we was in Oakhurst at first, then we moved across the street to Oak Cliff, and that's pretty much where I lived at for a little while, probably about a year and a half. So what happened was I started at Sonic. That fizzled out fast just because it was Sonic. I was flipping burgers back there. Then I went and got a job at Church's Chicken, and I was still like 17 at that time, so I was still in high school, right? But I was working part time. I was going to school and then going to Church's Chicken, and they put me in the drive-thru, and I started selling chicken through the drive-thru. And when I got to the drive-thru, like chicken sales started going up massively. And so of course the manager came in and they started talking. The district manager came in and said, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I'm just offering stuff. Like I'm selling pies. I'm selling the stuff that's been sitting here." And so they made me an assistant manager at 17. Before I was really legally supposed to be an assistant manager. Gave me keys to the store. And then I worked there and obviously it was Church's Chicken. So I was like, I didn't want to be in fast food. I knew that, and I was good at sales. That was my first experience with, selling stuff.
Yeah, that's
selling
natural
chicken.
too.
That's crazy. It came to me. So I got tired of working the fast food, so I started looking for a job in the newspaper, and I came across this ad that said free beer. Just kidding. Apply. Call us. Free beer. Just kidding. Call us. I was like, well, that sounds like fun. I was never a drinker, really. So never. So, but it was just. I was like, well, they're cool.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I want to go work there.
At least they're being funny.
Yeah. So I go to the interview and I get there and there's this very attractive young woman at the front desk. Her name was Amber Andrews, and she. I came in there and said, "What do y'all do here?" And she was like, "They're going to tell you in there." And I was like, "Okay."
What the fuck?
Yeah. So, it's one of those things where, we get in there, we get in the room. I'm in the room with a bunch of people, and this guy, they call him Silvertooth. His name's Chris Holland, Silvertooth. And, because he had one silver tooth. Very creative. He comes out there and he's like, "We sell cologne and perfume." He's like, this is what we do on the streets. He's like, you can make as little or as much money as you want, but if you sell anything less than this many bottles, it doesn't matter if it's one less, you don't get paid. You got to sell this many. Once you sell this many, you get paid. And I was like, I can sell that. That's easy. Like cologne and perfume, everybody likes to smell good. Right? That's immediately what I thought.
That's
right?
crazy. You're just having these instant moments.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way you can't sell cologne. That's like selling, it's just seemed too easy.
Yeah, something simple.
It's like, so I started that. So what he pitched it as was a 18-month training program where at the end of 18 months, you had the option to open your own business, your own franchise, and you could do this and that. So I got through it in 6 months. After 6 months, they were coming to me going, "Okay, you're ready." Right? I blew everybody away.
What were you doing? Were you like at the 7-Eleven like, hey?
Exactly that. Damn. But it wasn't in Oklahoma City. Like we would
you'd go places, right?
So they had a map on the thing and a pin in the middle with a piece of yarn on it. And then they took the yarn and they went 8 hours away and then they just drew a circle around Oklahoma City. So everywhere from Oklahoma City and up to 8 hours away is where I went. So
you were like St. Louis, Kansas.
All of it.
Yep.
Yeah, I went to all those places in every little town in between.
Yeah, I've heard people doing that.
Yeah, so we called it parking lot pimping.
Yep.
So we would literally, we'd go on Sunday mornings where everybody would show up extra early on Sundays. We would get assigned cologne and perfume. I was the leader. I was a sales manager, so I would get the whole trunk full, right? And then we would have 2 to 3 cars groups, and we would put 2 to 3 people in each car. And then we would caravan to a city. I'd go in there. They'd give us a little bit of money up front. I'd go in there and I'd grab a hotel room for everybody for the week. And then that would be our station. And then we would get there, whatever city we're in, we would work that city and we would get maps out. We'd be at McDonald's at 6 o'clock in the morning, drawing maps of who's going where. And we would hit every single business in that city. We did business to business. And of course, you know, I always liked to work where people spent money frivolously. So, you know, I would find, you know, the car washes in the worst part of town and just hang out at the car wash, man. I would just sell cologne and perfume out of my trunk for a long time.
Because you know that people are going to come to the car wash.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they come to the car wash. And think about it. When you're going to the car wash, what are you doing? You're really typically getting ready for something.
Yeah, and you're cleaning your car. It's like, dang, I might as well smell good.
Yeah, so if you're getting your car, if you're taking care of your car, you typically take care of yourself, and so you want to smell good.
Is that what you said to him? I see you're taking care of your car, and I know you want to take care of
I'm sure
yourself.
at some point, my pitch every time was just, hey, man, I know you like to smell good, right?
I know.
Like, you know, what do you got in your truck right now? And they're like, oh, I don't have anything. Okay, well, you need a truck bottle. Like, you need something to keep in your truck. You know, so
I just know how good you are, so my brain just started like.
Oh yeah, I had all the cool pitches. So I you know,
and you're like
great pitch.
18 to 20 at that time.
I was 18 at this time
when
I started. It was like right when I turned 18.
Right out of high school.
Yeah.
And
right
did you graduate as well?
So I didn't walk the stage, but I did graduate. I had all the points and everything. I had all my credits.
Yeah, but you're already working a full-time job and you're on your second chapter anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, what am I going to walk for?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't need to walk. I didn't have any interest in walking. Matter of fact, I think I was in a whole nother state whenever they had the graduation.
Yeah,
I was
probably selling
cologne and perfume. Yeah. So
that 6 months when you go to move up, did you move into owning your own franchise?
So by the time I was, so I started that when I was right at 18. 6 months later, they said, okay, you're ready. Where do you want to go? I said, well, I'll go to Tulsa. You know, there's not an office in Tulsa. So we drove up there. We found an office building downtown Tulsa. I got on like the 11th floor. And they rented out the whole floor for me. I started my first LLC at that time. It was called Platinum Enterprises. And then I started doing my own marketing. I put ads in the paper saying free beer, just kidding, you know, come work with us. And I had a whole bunch of kids come in and I did the same thing. I get them in a room, say, this is what we do. You don't sell this many bottles, you don't get paid. And you sell over this many bottles, you get this much money. And, you know, if you think you're good enough to do this, then, you know, be here on Sunday morning because we're all going to get in a car and we're going to leave. Now, it was an easy sell for the guys, right? Because, it was a bunch of attractive women that want to sell cologne and perfume. So it was very easy to say, come on Sunday morning, you're going to get in the car with her, and her, and you're going to go make some sales. And if you can't sell, then we're just going to send you back. And that was kind of the pitch I got. And I was like, I get to leave with them? Like, I'm going. And if I'm not good enough, then y'all are going to send me out? Well, there's no way. And so that was like fuel for me to like be the best. You know? I wanted to just be the best. And I was really, really good at what I did. But I ended up doing that for 4.5 years.
Wow.
So
you almost you did make a career.
I made a full-on career out of it. I opened 5 offices, one in Tulsa. I was there, and then I went down from there to Metairie, Louisiana, which is like a metro of
Shreveport?
No, not Shreveport.
Lafayette.
Gosh.
I don't know.
We're Mardi Gras, New Orleans.
Oh, like the city? Sorry. That's why I was guessing others because I was like, it can't be.
I kept thinking New Orleans as a state, but it was Louisiana. But so it was like right there. So like I was 5 minutes from Bourbon Street, if that tells you anything.
How long were you there?
So I was there for a year, about 12, 14 months.
You lived there?
I would stay, I would move there every time. So I went to Tulsa. I was there for about a year, got that office going, turned it over to somebody. Moved to Louisiana, turned it over to somebody. Well, then when I was in Louisiana, the guy that originally hired me, he had already moved out to Jacksonville, and he was like, dude, you're killing it. He's like, why don't you just come to my office and help me, you know, run my office with me? And so I did that. I went to Jacksonville after that. I guess he was like going from Oklahoma City to Jacksonville because we got there at the same time. So we got the lease and everything together. He wasn't already there. So we got there and we got established, got it going. And then him and his old lady, Beth, ended up having problems. They just had a kid together. They had problems. He was cheating on her. And so he took off. He went back to, I don't know where he went. I think Louisiana because he was from Baton Rouge. So left me and Beth there to run this office. So then we decided we didn't want to be so in Florida because it was Jacksonville, Florida. It just kind of sucked at the time. It was great. I mean, Christmas time, you were, outside on the balcony, and gorgeous weather. But
kind of a sketchy area at the time.
Yeah, definitely for us too, because we kind of targeted those areas, right? Mm-hmm. And I had Skylar. Skylar was my daughter. She moved with me to all these places, Damn. Right? So she was with me going everywhere. And so then we went to, from Jacksonville, so it was Tulsa, Metairie, Jacksonville. Then we went to San Antonio.
Wow.
So we were like, man, Texas, San Antonio, it's big. Like it's just a melting pot of people.
San Antonio is big.
Yeah, it's huge. And we were like, dude, we're gonna go to San Antonio. We're gonna kill it. So I went to San Antonio, got me a condo down there, and it was real nice. Like so, we're making a ton of money, dude. I'm talking about like a lot of money at a very young age.
Yeah, with minimal bills.
Very minimal bills.
Well, like not, besides lifestyle bills, like you hadn't built up enough debt yet.
Yeah, I mean, we had our rent on our office and our rent on our condo.
Yep.
And I mean, that was it. Other than that, like the cars we drive, very nice cars. We bought them cash right here. Right there where that Tesla delership is, it used to be a Mercedes dealership.
You just bought cars cash?
Yeah, just went in there with so just go and just buy cars. Just here, this is what we need. And so we only really had the rent on those two spots because we weren't buying real estate at that time. So we just rented office and a condo. All the little stuff, cars, clothes, jewelry, all that, we just paid cash for it, right? So we didn't have monthly expenses, just like you said, lifestyle stuff. Well, then I was in San Antonio, and around that time is whenever 9/11 happened. Mm-hmm. So I was like, man, I really want to go back home. It's kind of getting weird here, the whole situation. So, and in San Antonio, my daughter at that time, she was like 4, Skylar. She's blonde hair, blue eyed, gorgeous.
I just met her for the first time at that Let's Link.
Yeah, she's grown now.
I was like, who is that? And she's like, I'm his daughter.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so
you're grown. How old is Robert?
Yeah,
I was like, dang, he looks young himself.
Yeah, so she was 4, and the thing is, man, is that I would get approached so much that I remember it to this day. I would get approached by people and be like, hey, man, you need to watch out for her. Like, that's who the cartels are looking for. Like, she's a prime target to be kidnapped. And it happened so much that I finally was like, hey, Beth, like, we need to like maybe move a little bit further north. Like, it's just happening so much.
And you're like in your 20s.
Oh, yeah. I was at the time, I was like 22, 23.
That's scary to hear.
Yeah, 18, 19, 20, 20. Yeah, so about 22. My daughter's, 4 or 5 years old, and it was just crazy. So anyways, so we ended up, 9/11 happened. We ended up wanting to leave there anyway, so that was kind of a driving force too. So we moved back to Oklahoma City and opened up an office there. And then I decided that I was gonna basically join the Army. So I was like, you know what?
Switching it up.
Yeah, I want to go into the Army, and I want to kind of change some things. So our partnership with me and Beth dissolved. It wasn't working out. We ended up getting together, and then we split up, and that really messed the thing. I shouldn't have done that. We were great partners, but once we got together and became a couple, our relationship killed our business. Yep. And so, by the time we moved back, she was ready to move back home to Texas with her family. I was ready to go back to Oklahoma City. So we came back to Oklahoma City. We tried to open an office there. It only lasted for a couple months. We were like, this just isn't working. So we dissolved that partnership, shut that company down, and I went and got a job at AOL. That was back when AOL was a thing. Time Warner and had just purchased AOL, and it was up here on the northwest side. So I was kind of just working there, just kind of figuring out what I'm going to do. I'd already applied to go to the Army, but you can't just go. You have to do the whole process, and do all the tests and whatnot. So I was in that kind of leeway period where I was figuring that out. Well, when I worked at AOL, I got back hooked up with another friend of mine from a long time ago that I'd grew up with, and fast forward, I'll fast forward through some stuff, but basically at AOL, I got in there, I became the number one salesperson at AOL. I still, if they were still a company, I had a record there that was like the full record for the whole company.
And is that phone sales for internet?
Phone sales. I used to call people and sell those $10 AOL discs.
I bet you were fucking
Killed it. Yeah. Like at the time, like the record for the most sales was like 17 things, yes. And I sold over 50 in one day. And so like, of course, I got attention there. Like everybody was like, "Holy cow! What do you what?"
This is the Wolf of fucking Wall Street.
And really what it was it was a guy that had called. He wanted to get AOL for a school, and instead of them doing a package, I talked him into sitting there on the phone with me and going through every single. I did like 37 deals with him on, but they were still amazed that I was able to talk this guy into having the patience to let me do them all instead of sending him to the area where they do bulk stuff for schools and stuff. So I got to keep that record, for that.
That's smart.
And I was like, shoot, why not? I mean, I don't have to keep making calls. I can just stay here with you. I got time if you got time. And he did it. And those times where he had to switch credit cards and all kinds of weird stuff. But Long story short, I did while I was there, I decided I was going to buy a house, right? And, no, I'm sorry. Yeah. So I decided I got up with Jody. That was my second wife. We ended up getting married, and we was going to buy a house. So I went out and found me a house. I was 23 at the time, right? 22, I guess, really about that time. 18, 19, 20, 18, 19, 22. Yeah. So about 22, 23, got with Jody. We hooked up, got married, went to buy a house. I found me a HUD home, and it was in Midwest City, and I did everything myself. Like the whole thing, up to the point where the HUD said you have to have a realtor, right? And I don't know. Even to this day, I don't know why they told me I had to, other than maybe it was just because it was a HUD. So I called the closest realtor, which was Keller Williams in Midwest City, and there was a lady that showed up, and she's, we sit down like this, and she says, "Okay, we need to do this." I said, "Oh, I already did that." And she said, "Oh, okay, cool." And she said, she went through the whole list. And I was like, "I already did that. I did that. I've done that already. I'm already approved. I've done this. I've done it all." And she was like, "Well, what do you need me for?" I said, "I don't know. When I went to get this done, the people at HUD said I have to have a realtor involved. So they told me, I had to just find somebody." Her name was Tina. And so she got on the phone call. She said, "Okay, yeah, I got it. So, and she finished it out for me and sold me a house. Well, at the closing table, she was like, what do you, have you ever thought about, being a realtor?" I was like, "Nope, never thought about it." She said, "Well, you're good at sales." And she said, she was talking about my AOL and whatnot, and where I came from. She said, you're good at sales. So, you might as well sell high ticket items. Like if this is something that sales is where you want to be at. I said, "Well, I just enlisted in the Army. Like this is, really, what I want to do. I want to go do this." And she said, "Okay, well, just think about it." I said, "Okay." So
that's the first seat.
Yeah. I got into my house. Then I went to basic training. I did OSIT. So it was like OSIT is where you do your basic training, and then you also go to your school at the same time. So you don't come home in between and then leave for school.
Where was the?
It was in Fort Leonard Wood.
Where's that?
It's in Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah. They call it Fort Lost in the Woods. It's like nowhere in Missouri, where it's super, super cold.
Yep.
So, but I was there for 6 months. So I got all the hot and all the cold of Missouri. Right. Well, so I go there, and when I get back, I'm talking to people, and Tina hits me up and says, "Hey, how's it going? I heard you're back in town." I was like, "Yeah." She said, "You give any thought to this, to being a realtor?" I said, "No, but I really kind of need a job right now," because I did National Guard. I didn't go full Army, so I was just doing National Guard, so I could, did the 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year thing, right? And so she was like, "What do you are you okay with can you go to school for this? Like, you have the money set aside?" I was like, "Yeah, I got money." I had money from the cologne and perfume thing. When I came back, I had quite a bit of money. So, so I was like, "Yeah, I got money. I can go to school for a couple of weeks." So I went to Charles Barnes School of Real Estate, right? And did good there, passed it. I don't remember taking the test more than once, but I probably did. Knowing
I made the minimum score, so I get it.
So, but it was pretty easy. I went there, I got the test, and so then I started at Keller Williams. But I only work with buyers. I was there for.
And this is when you're 23, 24?
Yeah, 23. So I was right at 23 at that time. So I was 23. So I got my first job out of coming from Akron Basic was at Keller Williams.
Crazy.
And so I was 23, and I only work with buyers though. Like that was the thing. I was the low man on the totem pole. And back then at 23, I'm 43 now. That was 20 years ago. Men were not a thing in real estate. It was a predominantly, white woman run job, and they were like, it was 50s and 60s women. That's awesome. That's all it was.
Yep.
Like I remember even like when I went in there, it was only me and one other guy who was not straight. Let's put it like that.
Bro,
right.
Me and you were so on the same page that I was going to crack a joke too. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's the only other, it was me and him. And, and I'm like, straight-laced, out of the Army, clean cut, and then we got this guy over here, and then it's all just older women. And I was just like the everyone's punching bag. Like, I had no respect in there. So the only thing I could do was just get people's crumbs, from buyers that they didn't want to mess with. But I did it. I did it for 6 years.
And you were closing them because you were good at sales.
Yeah, I was doing it. I only remember one lady that ever had me show her a bunch of houses and then didn't use me. But that was back when buyer broker agreements were just a thing. It was way before internet and all this stuff. We were doing printing everything out. Everything was like, if we would come to the office, we had to get on a map and draw out our stuff on a map, and each of us take a map of where
the MapQuest, like that.
Yeah, where our route was going. Yeah, so it wasn't like there was no like.
How fast paced it is now with that.
Oh yeah, with Google Maps and stuff. I'm talking about we were like actually in atlases where we drew our
route.
20 years ago. There was no like internet on your phone with a map on it. You had to like really know where you were going. You had to know your streets,
That's crazy. You did that for 6 years and
was so
6 years successful at it.
Yeah, I did good. I mean, I didn't make a ton of money. I wasn't like the number one sales guy or anything, nowhere near it. I couldn't be. Like there was a very big, not even glass ceiling. It was like a woman ceiling over you that was just like, you're not.
And you're in Keller Williams.
Yeah. The broker was a guy. Casey Cook, he was great guy.
But just that mainstream of a brokerage, I can see where at that time it was tough.
It's crazy, yeah. So, and funny story, and I'll kind of tie this back, but I worked there with a few other people there, and Charlotte Gerganti was one of the people that was there, and I'll tell you why that's important later. But anyway, so I did good. I only had one listing in that whole 6 years. It was my cousin's house, and I didn't sell it. That tells you anything. Yeah, I wasn't good with listings. I was good with in front of you. Let's figure out why you're here. Let's find you the right house. Yeah. And once we get in, I was doing the whole, I sold the house. Like, get me in the house, I'll sell it. If I have somebody that's a pre-approved, I'm selling that house. But listing it was kind of like, what do I do? I just put this in here and just walk away? Like, I did one open house. I bombed that. Like it was just, I remember it was horrible. It was a particular
open houses are tough in general sometimes. So.
But yeah, I did not sell that house. My cousin Terry's house, and I did not sell it. Sorry, Terry.
Let me make you laugh real quick. There was a time when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And at 18, someone told me you should sell like life insurance. It was one of those like come to the rooms things you're talking about. And I remember one of my aunts and uncles let me come pitch them for 2 hours. And it was absolutely horrible. And then they went, no, we're okay. And I was like, I told them thank you, obviously, at the end. But I'm like, wow, they really just let me come look like an idiot.
Yeah.
And like... At least they were giving me the option to try, but I know what you mean with that, where you're just like, I tried my best.
Yeah, they were very kind if they let you for 2 hours.
Yeah, I was like, bitch. Yeah. The guy's with me, like reading me through the script. She's just like, this ain't it, man.
Yeah, yeah.
So I feel you on the listing and all that, because like open house, like there's some struggles.
So when I got back from basic, I was about 8 months back from basic, and I realized that my then wife had an affair on me while I was in basic.
Yeah,
so found that out. And so me and her got divorced. So this whole time I was in real estate at Keller Williams, I was back to being a single parent again. Anyway, that was all happening. And then there was a situation that happened because when you're in the military and you have a kid, you have to have a family care plan. I lost my family care plan because I didn't have a wife. And my brother had joined 6 months after I did. So, he's still he's actually deployed right now, in Jordan. We got in the same unit, same everything. And, so I basically just became non-deployable because I was a single parent. And after talking to JAG, which is military attorneys, I was like, I don't trust that if I leave, like my daughter's mom doesn't come and take her. She had kidnapped her twice at one point, during all that time. Once when I was in Tulsa, once when I was in Jacksonville. And like full on kidnapped her, where sheriffs had to get involved, chased her into another states. That's how we found out she was in Jacksonville.
I wonder how, as a father, that's got to be unreal.
Yeah, it was. I don't remember it being crazy. I remember it just being like, God, you're dumb. Like,
well, I guess you know who took her,
yeah.
So it helps a little bit.
And it wasn't that she was just a bad person. She was just a bad mom at the time, I guess. So
everyone has seasons.
Yeah, she wasn't horrible. I couldn't. But I mean, she was partying, she didn't need to be taking care of a kid. And I probably didn't either. Neither one of us needed to have a kid, but the judge decided that I was the best fit of the tornadoes.
On the scale.
Yeah, I was like, so, but but it was one of those things where, okay, she had visitations and she would come get her for a visitation and she would just not call back and not show up for weeks. And I'd have to get the sheriff after her. So that happened twice. And I had proof of that. So anyways, I became non-deployable and that really messed with me. So I was a realtor, and then I started working at strip clubs at nighttime. So I became a bartender at nighttime just to kind of having fun.
Sales. There you go.
Yeah, just having fun. Single, my kid was, old enough at that point where she was, didn't need to be constantly taken care of.
Strip club.
So I started at Ecstasy Ranch.
Okay. Right off I-35.
Right 35. That's not even there anymore. And then I did really good there, and then some guy bought Fancies in Valley Brook, and he was a regular at Ecstasy Ranch, and so then he recruited me to come be his manager of that club.
Wow.
And then while I was there, I had a person from Night Trips come and say, "Hey, do you want to come to be the manager at our club?" And so I think it was probably one of the girls that was bouncing back and forth. It was telling me about how good I was doing managing. So then I was the manager at Night Trips.
Dang.
Well,
while you're doing real estate.
Yeah, while I was doing real estate, I was managing.
You didn't
the
have
clubs
time
at
for
nighttime.
anything else. You're like showing homes during the day, trying to be a dad and a bartender late at night. Holy shit!
Late at night, yeah. I was young. It's crazy. I was, having fun. Well, that kind of messed me up because then I got back. So what happened was I started taking pills again. So that's what I was going.
And that's in your 30s.
No, this was back when I was about 26 at this time.
Oh, 26.
Right?
Got you.
So, started about 27. So the last couple of years, I started taking pills, and then before I know it, I was shooting heroin. So became a full-blown heroin addict. And then got back into the needle, and then, of course I let my license go, let my job go, I let my whole everything go. And then, so by that time, so that happened, and that was just a huge downward spiral. I mean, at that point, when I got out of the Army, that's when I got my own full on motorcycle of my own, and I started going to all the biker runs and hanging out and partying at big time and stuff like that. Well,
and that's why you're shooting heroin also.
That was, part of it. You're hanging out. You're back I was back in the scene, and I was working with the girls at nighttime.
You were in the
off
mix.
time. I was just big time, and then I'd wake up early in the morning.
They didn't call you Robert, did they? You got another name?
No, I didn't have
just Robert.
Nothing like that. I never had any names like that.
I just feel like you had a busy life.
Yeah. So, there wasn't any. I didn't have any gang affiliations or anything like that. So I never patched out for any of that. So,
but you're involved in the scene.
Yeah. Just hanging out and just I guess they call it a hang around. I didn't join, but I was there. I was partying. I was bringing women around, doing drugs, and having fun, having a good old time.
It's a huge scene in Oklahoma City, huh?
Oh yeah. There's a ton of real cool rallies you can go to and bike runs, and there's people there for different reasons. There's people there just to hang out and have the the brotherhood. Then there's people there that are partying, and I went from brotherhood to partying.
Yep.
Real fast.
It's just crazy how big it is. Like anytime, and you see riders in Oklahoma City, but if you ride at any time, if you just go anywhere of those suburbs, like Mustang, Moore, Norman, Midwest City, it's just bikers everywhere.
Yeah, it's a big culture here. There's a lot of clubs here, and for the most part, they're all great. They're all just cool people. They're just regular people. They all have jobs. Most of them are entrepreneurs. They just like bikes, and I do too to this day. I have a Harley. I still ride a lot, as much as I can.
As much as you can, I get it.
Yeah, I just I love it. It's just something I've always had a passion for is motorcycles, and I like buying them and then fixing them up and then trading them in, getting something new. But the one I got back whenever I was 24 was just a real cool chopper. I mean, it was a completely
so that's
custom,
like the ape hangers.
Well, I had drag bars, but yes.
Oh yeah,
I had drag bars. It was raked out, stretched, lowered. It was in V-Twin magazine. It was a freaking nice bike. It was made by Jason at Coyote Customs. He hand hammered the gas tank. It was a biker build-off competition winner. And so the guy that won it from the competition winner was the head of Homeland Security in Oklahoma, and I bought it for cash from him. So that was one of my little things that I got myself when I got back from basic. And so
so when you were involved with the drugs and the biker scene and things and managing, going out, all those, take me back through there. I know you were on track with that.
So it was kind of, that was all just kind of a whirlwind. And at first it wasn't the drugs and it was just the women and because like I said, found out Jody had an affair on me. So then I just was like, well, now I don't, I'm not at home with my family anymore. I got my kid, but she's at her friends, at at her, uncle's house or at my mom's house, and she's just kind of bouncing around, having her good time. And so I was able to, obviously on the weekends, I could take her out to my mom's on Friday and hit a couple bike runs all weekend, and then come back, Monday. Since I worked for myself, I didn't have any kind of schedule. I could not go in on Monday night if I didn't want to. I could party for 4 days straight and then still make up money.
Yeah.
So that just kind of progressed, like I said, until about the last 2 years it really started getting heavy. I kind of faded out. I held the license, I paid for it, but I wasn't doing much. I was more bartending at nighttime, and then that just turned into a full-on addiction, really, with sex and drugs. So that happened, and then I just started spiraling out of control, really, until I ended up in prison. So I was because of my heroin addiction, I got pulled over, had some empty rigs in the car and some paraphernalia, and ended up going to jail and getting out, and then got caught again and got out. I probably went to jail like 27 times, just for
27.
Yeah, just
holy shit,
just drug charges. I was just one of your typical like in and out of jail for drug charges all the time. And then finally, the judge said, "No more. Like you're going." So I was on a suspended sentence at one time, and so then they accelerated my sentence and sent me to jail. So I went to prison.
How long?
I was in for 4.5 years. So
a long time.
Yeah. So I was there for
shit.
Yeah, I started at a Cushing maximum security, and then worked my way down to a work center. And
that's from what age for 4.5 years?
I was 29 to 33. Yeah.
Dude, 4 years is a long ass fucking time.
Yeah. And then of course 6 months of that I was in jail waiting to pull chain, so
regardless.
Yeah, it was crazy.
What was that like, having to sit down? Like that, you're just living this fast-paced life, doing what you want, making money, sales, just successful. Yeah. And then just boom.
Well, so it wasn't like that was like the first, few years, but then I got to where I was just a drug addict. Like I became the worst of the worst. I wasn't working anymore. I was just hitting licks and just making enough money to so I lost my house, I lost my truck, I lost my bike, I lost it all because of heroin. And so I literally hit rock bottom, and then figured out that you could dig a little bit further. So I just kept on going. But then I went to prison and changed my life. Got me, it was probably the best thing that could have happened to me at that time. I had 12 people that we hung out with real tough. It was me and my current wife now, April, my youngest daughter's mom, Kristen, and then there was like 9 other people that we just kind of hung out with. And out of those people, most of them are dead from overdosing or killing themselves. Me and April are together. Kristen has been missing since October of 2024 and just presumed dead. And then Jasmine, who is a good friend of ours who runs a sober living home in Lawton. And she, but she had to go through it as well. My wife went down as well. She did 5 years, April. So she did 5 years. And then Jasmine had to do some time. So they had, we all either, our whole group either are dead or went to prison, except for Kristen, of course, and nobody can find her. But, so my life was that I was at the point where I was probably going to overdose or, so it was just the best thing that could have happened was me going to prison at that time.
How did it make you better when you got there?
Well, I'll tell you how. So it got to the point where I was just so disgusted with myself. I was at that point. I knew I was better than this, and I was just so disgusted, but I didn't know how to get away from it. Heroin's such a bad thing. Short term, yeah, this is great. Long term, man, how do I ever get out of this rut? And when you're addicted to a drug like heroin, it's hard to understand for people that haven't been addicted to stuff like that you need it.
Yeah, because it'll kill you if you stop sometimes, right?
Well, it can. I've never seen people die from stopping. I've seen people die from, not having it for 2 or 3 days, then getting it and trying to do the same amount they were doing when they stopped 3 days ago, and then it kill them.
Damn.
So that's
crazy how fast that can be.
Oh, yeah, because your tolerance builds up quick, but it also goes down real fast.
Oh.
But when you're going real fast, and you build it up, it went from when I first started, it was 1 pill a day, and then that got to where it was 14 pills a day. And then it was well, this isn't working anymore. I'm going do way too much with scripts and stuff. So then I just started shooting heroin. So, but that progresses. You get real tolerant from it. But then when you stop, it only takes a couple of days before it just goes way back down. So
Saying that overdosing makes sense then.
Yeah.
Because they're like, no, I'm trying to get right back to it.
You think that what you was doing 4 days ago is fine, and it's not. It kills you. Wow. So, I've literally been in a situation where I was sitting in the same car and went and scored with a guy, and we both put in on equal amounts. We split up our doses, and he shot up and died, and I didn't. So, it's right there, so it's been, something I'm saying. So I was at that point where it was either death or prison, and thank goodness it was prison. So, but when I went to jail that last time, of course, my mom, she was like, I had a family that loved me to death, but they enabled me. Like every time I went to prison, every time I went to jail, they would just come bail me out. They'd put up money, and my brother was home on leave one time and got mad because my mom wouldn't bail me out, got me out of jail, and just, my brother's my best friend, and he didn't want to see me in there, and he knew I was going through some crap, but it was just one of those things where he'd seen it before when I was a kid and thought, oh, it's just a season for him. But I just couldn't get away from it. I could not stop, and then it got to where I was just addicted to the needle. I could put anything in it: coke, meth, heroin. And if I could find all three, I was really having a good time, So It was just one of those things where at that point I was just doing whatever I could get my hands on, and screwing over whoever I had to in the path. It was just like a tornado ripping through Oklahoma City. So anyway, I got sent back to jail. I called my mom, said, hey, I'm in jail again. Oh, okay, baby, I said, no, just let me just ride it out. Like, I'm tired of running, tired of not having a place to stay. I'm tired of, just being a piece of crap. So I was like, just let me set it out. Let me go to the judge. Let me see what they say. I'd already knew that since I'd already been in trouble and they let me out the last time, they said, if you get caught again, we're not going to let you out again. So I was like, well, it's already inevitable. I'm in trouble this time.
Like, why get bailed out for 2 weeks?
Yeah. For just to waste your money. Like, so let's just not do that. So I go to the judge, and the judge says, look, you're going to prison. So, but this is what we'll do. We're going to give you a 1-year review, and if you can go through prison for a year and not get in trouble, keep your nose clean, you can come back for a review and we'll let you out. I was like, okay, sounds pretty easy. And so I get back there and I'm telling people what's going on. They're like, oh yeah, you won't even go to prison then. You're just going to stay here. They don't send 1-year reviews to prison. You're just going to be in jail this whole time.
And you're sitting there talking to other inmates. So you're probably getting excited. You're like, okay, thank God.
Yeah, of course. Now, while I'm there doing that, I'm in my mind thinking, okay, how am I going to be a better drug dealer around here? How am I going to be a better user? Like, I need to go make some meth. I need to get me a motorcycle. I need to get a backpack. I need to get something more nimble so I can take corners better in case I get chased, I can run. And it was just like, one of those deals. Right? So, and I spent a lot of time while I was in there, like, trying to disprove God. How there's just a bunch of stuff out there that you could pick the Bible apart. And I was just one of those guys. I was just like, this doesn't make sense. Well, how is this part doesn't make sense? Doesn't make sense. Well, 6 months goes by and they come pull chain and I'm on the list. And I'm telling the guy, I'm like, dude, I have a 1-year review. I'm not leaving. And they're like, you're on the list, dude. Like, there's nothing, it's 3:00 in the morning. The judge is not going to take your phone call. Like, you're going. If there's a mistake, you'll come back. I was like, holy cow. I was not prepared at all. I had in my mind, it was like nowhere near going to prison. So, I pull chain. I go to Lexington. And that's A&R, assessment and receiving. Everybody goes to Lexington first, and they do just an assessment, and they receive you into the
see how dangerous
system.
You are.
They see how volatile you are. They see what you are. Are you like a racist gang member? Are you chill? Are you what do you do, right? And of course, that's also at the time where they like assess all your tattoos and see if you've already been in and if you're already part of a certain groups and whatnot.
Man, it's crazy that in the jail part for the 6 months, you're like feeling okay. And then they grab you at 3 in the morning. You're like, oh shit, it's real.
Completely they don't give you any warning.
No.
They give nobody warnings for that. And on top of that, I wasn't even expecting it. Like, I knew, we all know it happens, but was not expecting to be on the list. Right. So, and keep in mind, I'm in Cleveland County, and that's a big pod type of jail.
Cleveland's right here.
Yeah, down. Well, no, it's in Norman.
Oh, yeah.
Norman. That's Oklahoma County.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So, but in Oklahoma County, it's individual cells. In Cleveland County, it's just a big pod.
With like
huge room
bunk
with
beds?
bunk beds stacked on the walls, bathroom upstairs, but you're just in a huge open area with a bunch of inmates, right? No privacy whatsoever. I mean, none. So I was in there
more
for
comfortable there?
6 months. I don't know, I wasn't comfortable. I had no choice.
Right.
I've been in Oklahoma County several times. I mean,
Same shit.
Yeah, didn't matter to me whether I was in the room with 3 people or 20. It all sucked, So, but when I pulled chain, they put me to A&R. My first cellie was, somebody I'd known from jail, so he was there. They came, they assessed him and moved him out. And then we had a guy that I was in there for. So whenever he left, I was alone for the first time in months. I mean, 6 months.
Because that room, we were with 20 people, 30 people.
I'm talking about never alone at all. Like, not at all. Even when you're taking a shower, there's a curtain, but there's 50 guys on the other side of the thing hooting, hollering, and acting full, So it was the first time I was alone in 6 months, and I just felt this overwhelming feeling of defeat. And I was just like, dang, this is happening. Like, I'm going to prison. So, and of course, I had hoped the whole time that I wasn't.
Right.
I'd had this hope that, okay, in 12 months, I'm going to get out of here. I'm go out and do all this stuff and be this great drug dealer. And it's stupid. And so anyways,
but at least you can say it.
Yeah, but I had hope, I had hope. And so anyways, the door shuts, he leaves, and I'm alone for the first time, and I'm just like, I just felt scared. I was like, man, I'm scared to death. I've never been to prison before. I don't know what it's like. I don't know anything. All you hear is just the stories, It's like, dang, And I'm a pretty chill person. I'm not violent by any means. I'm definitely not an aggressor, So I'm not the type to, just not. I'm just like, I'm not, and I like that. I like that I'm not that person. I don't have a short temper. I don't have a short fuse. I don't have any of that. I'm just a chill person, So, anyways, I feel like it's one of my strong suits, it's something that God blessed me with. But, so I hit my knees, man. I got on my knees and I just asked God, please help me. Like, I was like, I'm so tired. I feel defeated. Like, if you can please just help me, like, get away from the drugs, get away from the needle, and just not be a part of that anymore. Please help me. Please help me to not even want that. And so, I took a deep breath and I got up and I felt this like overwhelming feeling of then from fear to just peace. I was just like, okay. So then I picked up a Bible. It was obviously a Bible and everyone. I picked up a Bible and just started reading. And the next day, I went to sleep. I was already on the top bunk. So my cellie was in there before I got there. So when I get in, I go to the top bunk. When he left, I didn't move. I just stayed up there, right? And I was up in my top bunk, and I was up against the wall, my knees up, and I was reading the Bible, and I heard the door clack, 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 clack. And open the door, and this dude walks in. And now, one thing about A&R is, they don't mix races because they don't know who you are, right? So, but this guy walks in. His name was Aaron Lucas. Big old tall, 6 foot tall black dude. And MMA fighter from the East Coast. Tattooed up. He was a big dude. And he drops his bag and he goes, tell me what you like and what you don't like so we can get along. And now, I'm not the type of person to ever, the only time I ever brought up God was when I was trying to talk crap, But I moved the Bible down and I said, do you love God? That's all that could come to me. I had no other, it's not even something I would have ever even said. I said, do you love God? And he like I said, he just dropped his bag and he goes, you're the person I'm here to talk to. And I was like, what? And he said, the door shuts and he starts telling me his story about how he was on the East Coast and he'd already been picked up on these charges and they got him again and extradited him back and he'd been fighting this whole thing but he said that, he used to be, not used to be, but he had a relationship with God and he was, devout Christian and then he got away from it and then he got picked up and he said that God just kept putting it on his heart that there was somebody that he had to see and that's why he was going through this. And so when I said that, he immediately felt like you're the person I'm here to see, right? And
you didn't even know why you were compelled to say it, like that was God speaking through you. Like you wouldn't have said that normally.
Never. And even to this day, and when I said it, I was even like, that's not weird. Like, You know, like,
and then the response, how powerful is that?
yeah, it was crazy. Like I get goosebumps to this day talking about it. So what
And they
happened?
don't mix races.
Not at all. Not at all. But God, that's not a barrier for God.
Right.
Not at all.
Right.
So that's something that I look back on and I'm thinking, man, that's crazy.
Interesting, isn't it?
So, and he did not look peaceful. Like he was not a peaceful looking guy. Like he had, mob on his, thing right here. He's fully tattooed. I mean, he was a MMA fighter. Like obviously he had control, but he was not appearance wise, did not look like your normal, just, this guy's chill. Like, you know what I'm saying? So,
I like how he came in and said, what do you like and not like? He
yeah,
was like already
because
set
he was respectful.
boundaries.
He was respectful. He was, he was that type of guy,
That's interesting.
And he was just like, let's just get it out. Like, let's just make sure we have a clear understanding, So,
What was it like hearing his testimony?
it was at the time. It was, I don't know. I felt like I felt like it was just in this other world in this feeling of being safe with God, because I knew of God, but I didn't know God. I grew up in a church. My grandmother, she would made sure that we knew who God was, that we knew scriptures with it, but I didn't have a relationship with God. And I felt like at that point, like it was like, okay, I'm peaceful. And this guy's like saying he's here to talk to me. It was so weird. And so I was just like all ears, I was just like, and so he started, it's crazy because he spent the next 3 days, we were together in that cell, and he spent the next 3 days showing me in the Bible without me even saying anything. I didn't bring any of this up. I was almost, I guess, too ashamed that I had been talking crap about the Bible. He went through that whole Bible and told me all the little things that I kept questioning and bringing up to people and going, what about this? What about that? Nobody can answer. He answered them all. I mean, all of them, except for one, which was the lineage of Jesus that goes all the way back to the lineage of David that goes back to Mary, and whatnot. And so it was just, little stuff like that. And it was mostly stuff I just picked up on the History Channel, and I was like, yeah, that's weird. And then I was like, started questioning.
And he's like, just like, hey, look at this today.
Yeah. And I'm talking about like we were going through it, and he would just start talking. I was like, man, yeah. And then I would say every like it was daily. We'd go over, we'd read, we'd go to eat, and we'd come back and we'd read the Bible. And I'd say, yeah, I'd always thought that was BS. He was like, well, no, here's why it's not, and then he'd flip over here and go, here's where it ties back to it. Like here's where the proof is. And it was just like one thing after another. Like it was like a weird, profound like moment where I was just like, or not moment, days where he just kept going over it. And so lots of stuff. I mean, and I can't remember them all. This was a long time ago, but I just remember very distinctly, like he just kept hitting all those things that I spent 6 months in jail talking crap about the Bible. And this guy walks in and goes, hey, all those things, not like that. He was just like going over it. And I was just like thinking, dang, I just was spent months telling people how that was bullcrap.
It's like God was watching you do it the wrong way for the 6 months. He's like, well, let's not let him out at a year. Let's call him tonight at 3.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And then let's test him one more time to see if he's going to make a decision.
Yeah, and then on top of that, he sent somebody in there to literally open the Bible and talk to me about all the things that I had been talking crap about.
It's crazy because it's like you were alone for the first time, and God's like, okay, let's see if he calls. You did.
Yeah,
and he's
100%.
like, all right, I'll send somebody.
Yeah, and I'm talking about like God on my knees and the
because you were right there.
Praying,
I feel, and I'm speaking like I know, but I would feel like you're right there where he's like, I send the messenger or I don't. It's up to Robert.
100%. And it happened. And he came in, and it was and that's another thing. It was like the least, I don't want to say qualified, but the last person you would think would walk in. Yep. Like it was the exact opposite of who should have walked in that door. Right?
Yeah. I mean, even down to just the different race.
Yeah.
Like they didn't allow it.
They're supposed to like put people with you that you're supposed to like, just kind of just
and you get this prophet in your.
So it's funny you say that because at one time, second or third day, he said, Robert, I'm going to give you a prophecy. And he said, I've only ever given one person a prophecy, and I don't know that it's ever going to come true because I've never talked to that person again. But I'm going to give you a message that's on my heart that God has wanted me to put on your heart. Now, keep in mind, I hadn't told him my story. He doesn't know anything. That's one thing you do in jail. You don't tell, like, it was one of the things, like, my buddies in jail told me, so when you go to prison, do not tell anybody, because, we talked about it, but, I didn't know I was even going, but we had talked about when you go to prison, you don't tell anybody you're on a 1-year review because they'll mess it up intentionally. They'll make sure you don't get out because they're not getting out. They want to keep people in there. It was a big thing, when you're in prison, is you don't tell people when you're fixing to get out because they will intentionally, hurt you, sabotage you. So I didn't tell him anything about my 1 year review or nothing. I was guarding that. And he said, I'm going to give you a message from God. And he said, you're going to go in front of a judge and they're going to let you out, but you're not going to leave this prison. That's all he said. He said, you're going to go in front of a judge and they're going to let you out, but you're not going to leave. And I was like, okay. And I was like, and in my mind, I'm thinking, well, shoot, I hope that's not talking about my 1 year review. I'm dead set on making sure I'm walking, clean line. So, and he said, because there's somebody that God needs you to be in front of. So he said, you're not going to leave because there's somebody that God needs you to see. Like you need to be in front of somebody just like I'm in front of you right now. And he was, just like, just, I don't know what that means. I don't know, I just feel it on my heart to tell you that. And he said, just like God has put it on my heart to give me peace that I know that I had to be here to talk to somebody. And I know it's you. He said, but just know they're going to let you out, but you're not going to leave because there's someone you need to be in front of. So he leaves. We both leave. I go to Cushing. I don't know where he went. So
that's the last time you ever saw him?
No.
Oh, shit.
No. So I went for my 6 months. I was up there. I did a writ. Had to go back.
What's a writ?
A writ is where you just basically they come get you and they set a court date for you for your 1 year review. If you ever have something you want to get in front of a judge for, you can file a writ and a judge, you can go see a judge. Well, they took me on a writ. They drove me down to Cleveland County, and this was on my 1 year review. Started from the first day I was in, not from the first day I went to the yard. So I was 6 months later, and in that 6 months, I was great. I felt great. I was like not a care in the world. People would be like, dude, you're like not tripping right now. Like you're in a maximum security prison. You're in prison. I'm like, no, I'm not mad. It's like I feel like I'm in a good place. I'm sober, and by the time I went to prison, like all my whole family had disowned me. Like they just didn't want anything to do with me. I was just such a piece of crap.
You're just a single person in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And
how did you stay safe walking around, or how did you feel so calm walking around maximum security where I would think all the horrible shit happens?
So the prison's not like what's on TV, man. The only time you get in trouble is if you owe people. If you get yourself in debt over drugs, and it's mainly drugs, that's when you get beat up and you get,
For the most part, it's pretty
chill. Yeah. And like I said, they assess you. And so whenever they put you there, there's different sections, that they say, okay, this guy's like a full on violent gang member. Put him with the other violent gang members.
Is it reckless in there then?
Well, I didn't go in there.
So you don't know?
I wasn't a violent gang member. Like I said, I never joined a gang. I never patched out. I didn't do any of that stuff. I just, I got a job immediately working in the kitchen, and I was just a kitchen worker. So the whole time, even when I was in jail, I worked in the kitchen. So I was just I just had a job. I was always the guy who was like, y'all got work? Like, can I do work? I don't care. I'll work for chicken, So that was kind of my hustle. I didn't sell drugs or anything, but what I would do is I would sneak chicken back from the kitchen into my pod and make chicken sandwiches at night and go around and sell them for $1, So that's how I made money. That's how I bought my shoes and my clothes and everything. So
hustling.
I was always hustling, always.
When you went to the courthouse, what happened? So
I go to court, and the judge says, "Okay, you're great. You've done everything you're supposed to do. You're doing this. You're doing that." And she said, "Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and let you go." My grandma was there. My whole family at that point was there at that time, and they were all excited. And she was like, "We're going to go ahead and let you go." And the DA stands up and goes, "Hold on a second, Judge." And he says something to the effect of, "I know you promised Mr. English a 1 year review and that he would get out if he did good, and it seems like he's done everything right. But the fact is that while you were, because I had a couple counties that I had charges from, and so when I got caught in Cleveland County, I had accelerated charges from Oklahoma County. So when she gave me the 1 year review, Oklahoma County hadn't filed. So when she gave me the 1 year review, Oklahoma or something filed after that, and because they filed after that, I immediately became ineligible for my 1 year review, right? And that paperwork didn't show up until a year later that he had. And he was like, so she was like, "Okay, we're going to let you out. You did great." So she let me go. And the DA was like, "You're not going anywhere." Like, it is a typo type thing. It's a loophole thing, but we're not letting you out. And I was just like,
did your heart drop even though you had already been told the message?
Not at all. Like even I went back and because they let me, I got to sit with my family, while I was there. And my grandma was crying and my mom was crying and they were just like crying. I was literally sitting there smiling. And I remember my mom going, "Aren't you upset, baby?" And I said, "No." I said, "Remember, this is what Aaron said was going to happen. Like, this is exactly what he said was going to happen." So I was like at peace about it. When I got back to the yard, they were like, "What are you, like, you're not leaving?" I was like, "No." I'd already told everybody what happened with the guy, Yeah, I was like, dude, I was freaked out a little bit, but at the same time, I was very at peace about it. I was like, dang, I just got a prophecy. It was the first time in my life somebody gave me a prophecy, and now it just came true. And I was like, so now in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, who do I need to talk to? So I started talking to everybody. I started telling everybody about my story, about how I was a drug addict and now I'm not. And, and of course in prison, they're all like, yeah, well, that's because you're in prison. And the thing is, what people got to understand is that it is way easier to get drugs in prison than it is on the streets.
Wow.
I mean, by a ton, right?
That's crazy.
On the streets, you got to wake up, find a ride to get some money, hit a lick. Then after that, you got to find somebody that's holding. They're never on time. You got to wait forever. And then if they don't show up, then you're already looking for somebody else. By the time, it's already 9, 10 o'clock before you even score. And then it might be good. It might not, it's a whole freaking thing, right? In prison, they come to your door every morning and say, "Hey, do you want to get high? Hey, you want something on we front you something?" They want you in debt to them. And the stuff is definitely good, because if it wasn't, whoever threw it in is losing their life, so you don't get bad stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it was way easier.
That's crazy that it's every day to try and get
dude,
some debt. It's door-to-door sales.
It gets to the point where they're like, "Hey, he's not going to buy anything." But dude, when I first got there, it was weed, meth, coke, heroin, whatever you wanted. They had it in there. Cell phones, all of it. They had everything. And, they would take potato guns and they would, and then footballs. So they'd throw footballs over the fence and they'd take potato guns and shoot tennis balls that had been cut and stuffed with drugs. They'd shoot them over. And then the orderlies would just go and make their rounds and pick them up and take them in.
How they don't see that on the camera?
There's dead spots. They knew where the dead spots were. Yeah. I remember one time I was working in the kitchen. Everybody was like, there's 2 footballs on the roof. They missed and hit them on the roof. And so we were like, everybody was like, I say we, because I was part of the group. I didn't partake, but I did help them move the warmers around so they could hop up on the warmers and go up there and retrieve their stuff. I didn't want anything to do with it. I was like, I'm not doing it. Like I'm in a good place. Like I'm very self-aware. Like I am an addict. And I didn't want to mess with that stuff in there. I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to get, beat up or killed or, any of that stuff, right?
Yeah, and you could have just spiraled.
Oh, big time. Yeah, big time. So, and then of course I'm a hustler. So, I would have been figuring out ways to hustle. And, at some point it was just like, it was something that I could foresee. It was just not something I wanted to do. And I had the good wherewithal. And I don't tell you, I didn't even have the desire. It was all around me.
You said it was lifted.
I had no desire. Like I felt no desire. And that's another thing, going back to that night, that when I asked God to save me, help me, one thing that he took from me that I didn't even realize till later was cursing, So I stopped cursing immediately, because it's hard to tell people that you feel like, you found God and then you're saying the F word, every other word. And then I didn't realize till later that he took away womanizing. So when I got out, by that time I was just like, I had no desire to just run around and be fast like I used to be, because I was a good womanizer too, goes with the territory when you're doing drugs and stuff. So, and even to this day, now I have kids, so I do curse sometimes, but I used to be the guy that I had to say the F word in every sentence, every 2 words. Like it was just an adjective, a noun, it was everything. I used it every way you could and didn't think nothing of it. And then God took that from me as well. Smoking cigarettes, I didn't go back. I used to smoke 2 packs a day before I went to jail.
And you didn't replace it with anything besides positivity?
That's it.
That's crazy.
100% did not. And
did you find the guy you were supposed to talk to?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's what happened. So that I went back. I went through my whole time. I finally made it down to the work center. Work center is over here on the Carver Center. It was over here on May. Okay. In I-40. It's not there anymore. I don't know what it is now, but it was there when I got there.
And that means inmates stay there and work there.
Yeah. So what is you get moved once if you do good, if you do everything you're supposed to do, you can move to the work center. And then once you get to the work center, you can go get a job out in the real world, and they transport you to and from your job every day. Right. So
until your sentence is over.
until your sentence is over. So when I got there, I had like 11 or 13 months left, something like that. It's like a year left. So I did my last year at a work center. So I went and worked at this call center, and I did well there. It was just a call center where I sold credit card machines. But okay, so let me get to that. When I walked in the Carver Center, you go to the left, and to the left is people that have been there and they're messing up and they're fixing to go back up. Because if you mess up, you go back up into a minimum or medium security, depending on how bad you mess up, right? And at minimum or medium, you don't get to do nothing. You just, it's a little bit more relaxed, but it's still, you're behind a fence, behind wire, or behind a fence, not behind wire. So like it's just the security, obviously, for you to escape gets less and less the more they can trust you to not run, But but by the time you get to the work center, it's wide open. I mean, you could walk out if you wanted to, and they're going to find you at some point, but they trust that you don't. So if you're messing up, they put you on the left-hand side. And if you have a job and you're doing what you're supposed to, you go to the right-hand side. Well, when I got there, I went to the right-hand side, because I was fresh there. They didn't know if I was going to be good or bad, so they put me over there. I immediately got a job. And about the second or third day is there, I heard someone say, "Has anybody seen Aaron?" And I said, "Aaron who?" And he goes, "Aaron Lucas." And I was like, "Oh, that's my guy. Like, he's here." And somebody said, "Yeah, he's down there at the end." And he pointed to the other side. And I was like, "What? What do you mean he's down there on that side?" So I went looking for him, and he wasn't there. I looked for him for about a week and a half. Couldn't find him. Well, it turns out he was working at the Sonic in the same parking lot where I got my job. So I ended up seeing him. We got on the bus because once you're there for a couple of weeks and they see that you're not just going to immediately run, you could get a bus pass and you could take a bus to where you were going to and from work. Right? Wow. I rode the bus for a year. Yeah.
As still an inmate.
As an inmate, yeah. But you could only take the bus, right? So I finally find him, and when I found him, he was strung out. He was like extremely strung out on drugs, and when I actually seen him, he had just got beat up by the natives. He had owed him some money, and he got jumped, and they got him pretty good. So he was coming off of that, like beat up stage, and so when I seen him, I was like, "Aaron, hey, it's Robert," and he was avoiding me, like he was ashamed, big time, and that happened for a few days, right?
Because he was like, "I was in."
He was ashamed, super ashamed, right? And so finally I cornered him. He was in his bunk, and it was kind of a setting like this where it was several bunks in a room, but it was much bigger. And everyone was out on the yard. I don't know what's going on, but I caught him in his room. There wasn't really many people behind. And I finally went over there and I said, "Aaron," and he was like, "What's up, man? What do you need?" I was like, "I need to talk to you." I was like, "Do you realize that everything that you told me came true? Like, at that point, I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're the person I need to talk to." And so it kind of came full circle, right? Mm-hmm. To where I set him down. I said, "Hey, look, everything you told me, like God was moving through you, and you were speaking His word, and like you really changed my life." I was like, "My life has not been the same since I met you, and you put me on this path that I'm still on right now, and it's because of you. And God needs you to see that the work that you were doing years ago is actually, still working, and He needs you to get your life together." And so after that, we hung out a little bit, and not real tough. He was doing drugs, and I didn't want to be too close to him, but I was still there, and I'd go eat with him. I'd bring him food. I'd love on him, but I wasn't, I was trying to keep my distance.
And you're not trying to be involved like that.
Yeah. So because I lived on the other side, but I would always, just be like, "Man, I love you, like I'm here because of you." And I told him, "Hey, that prophecy that you said, it's exactly what I told him about it." And when I told him that, his eyes were just like, you could see, he was like, "Holy cow." Mm. And so it was a couple weeks after that, and I started noticing him getting better. And then slowly he just kind of came out of it, and he got over there. I don't know what happened with him and his beef and stuff like that, but they didn't kill him, so he was cool. Paid his debts or whatever. But he ended up getting his life together, getting sober. He went back to the East Coast and got back with his family, and he's doing great. Wow. I don't talk to him a whole lot, but I do, every now and again we'll see each other. He'll like my stuff, and I'll say, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?"
That's so crazy for it to be like that, because he's like, "I don't know what this means, but you're going to have to help somebody." And then he goes left.
Yeah, and he was the person. He was a person, and he'll tell you to this day, he's like, you know, it was that's what kind of got me back to where my relationship with God, because I seen that what I was doing was actually working. I was helping move the Spirit through people. And so,
and then you were on your way out at that point, right?
Yeah. So, I ended up, a good friend of mine, who's a great friend of mine today, Josh, he got me a job at Jiffy Lube, and started with Jiffy Lube. And so I was there for that. By that time, I had 11 months left. So I did my last 11 months working at Jiffy Lube. And in that 11 months, I became the #1 salesperson in the United States at Jiffy Lube.
Holy shit.
While I was making $12 an hour, because I was a work center. They could pay me as little as possible, right?
And you're the #1 salesman.
#1 salesperson. So
did they still give you like recognition for the company?
100%. Yeah. I mean, everybody knew who I was, but they didn't know what I was making. You know, but they just knew that's all they had to pay me. So by the time 11 months rolled around, they knew that I was fixing to get out, and of course they came and had the conversation like, hey, we're going to give you a really big pay bump. We're going to put you on salary. We're going to do all this stuff. We're going to, we're going to make you. I was a customer service advisor, so I was the guy that just sold air filters to you. You know, I was the guy that sold you an air filter when you just want an oil change. You know, I was that guy. And so, long story short, they put me on salary. It wasn't great. It was like, 50,000 a year plus bonuses, so I wasn't making a ton of money, but it was like a huge jump from what I was doing. Yeah, in prison. And I hit my bonuses every month. Matter of fact, I only missed 2 bonuses a year, and that's because I went on vacation twice a year. That was it. But so when I got out of prison, I had a $10,000 check, from working, and, they take half of your money. So I was able to save up 20 grand, but they keep half of it. And then so I had that $10,000 check, and I got out. They put me on salary, and so I just started working at Jiffy Lube, and ended up getting back with April. Like, she had got out of prison right before I did, and so she got out of prison while I was in the work center, and she did her little thing, and we kind of made sure, and God brought us back together. God worked on her, worked on me, brought us back together, and then thank goodness, because she is like 100% my rock. She's my best friend, and I couldn't imagine life without her. Even though we're normal couple. We've been together 15, 16 years. It's a long time, so you have your ups and downs. But so I became the #1 salesperson. And then they nominated me for manager of the year, but I wasn't a manager. So they were like, I got skipped over for that. So then they came down, or the owners came in and said, hey, we're going to make you the manager of a store. And I was like, I don't want to be a manager. That job sucks. Like, I want to sell and make bonuses. They were like, no, you're going to keep doing that. We're just going to give you the title of the manager, because we have never had they've been running these stores for 30 years. They said, we've never had a single person in all of our 17 stores ever be nominated for manager of the year. And they chose you, but we can't even send you because you're not technically a manager. I was like, well, holy cow,
Wow.
Yeah. So they put me as a manager. And so then the next year, I worked a whole year as a manager, and they nominated me. Now, I didn't win. They said I didn't win because of a technicality, because the people that did win, they had several multi-million-dollar stores. But I made a very good name for myself. There's 2,500 Jiffy Lubes in the United States, and I was consistently the #1 salesperson. And what they noticed, so what they I was killing it. What they noticed was that every time my employee number would move to a store number, that store number would become the #1 store in the nation. And then, so they were able to track what store I was in just by looking at a chart. And so they had this, whenever, at one point, there was several people from like Jiffy Lube headquarters in Houston came up to see me in Oklahoma City, and they brought cameras, they wanted to do an interview, they wanted to ask me like, what was I doing that was so different?
What were you doing?
At the time, I couldn't tell them.
Oh.
Had no clue.
Oh, you were just working.
I was just working, man. I was just working. And now that, and I'll explain.
My bad.
No, it's okay. I'll explain how that comes into play, because when they came and they started asking me these questions, I just didn't know. Now, I will tell you this. I read books. The whole time I was locked down, I started reading books, and I didn't read anything fiction. I read a few fiction books whenever I was in jail, just dumb books. But then I got a hold of the nonfiction section of the self-help and the, know your purpose, and the, start with why, and the science behind, negotiations. And I started reading it, and I just started building up a mass of knowledge with sales and teachings, right? So when they came and talked to me, I had all this knowledge that I was applying, but I didn't know what I was doing specifically. I was just like, I don't know. I'm just a heck of a sales guy. And so I was embarrassed. Like I didn't know what to tell them. And I did the whole interview, and of course I was BSing, and we had a great time. And I was throwing out just lines from books. But then when they left, I was like, man, I need to figure out what I'm doing. I need to know what is setting me apart from everybody else. And so I started really just diving in on the science, the neuroscience behind sales. Like, why do people say yes to me and they say no to everybody else? So I started digging in and just getting all these, really specific books. And I came across Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Yep.
And I fell in love with that book.
It's such a good book.
I fell in love with it. I found it when I was at Jiffy Lube. And thank goodness, because...
It's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let me make you laugh, bro, because our connection with Tess. When I was at Home Creations, I found that book. And I was like, dude, I don't know why I'm called to this book, but it's good. And I listened to it, read it, all these things. I sent it to him. He's like, whatever. Then 2 years later, he texts me, and he was like, hey, bro, you got to read this book, dog. Like, it's so good. And I was like, Tez, I just sent that to you. He's like, sorry, man, I was moving too fast. But it was so hilarious because now every time someone brings up that book, and a couple of days ago, one of our realtors here was reading it. So it just has a special part.
I love it.
It's such a good one.
It has a very special place in my heart because whenever all that, I started getting that attention from them, and I was manager of the year, and I had a 1 year review every year on September 2nd, right? And every year so in August, at the end of August, I would read Never Split the Difference.
Sharpening up.
1 week before, I would put it on my truck and I wouldn't listen. I would just listen. I'm real big on audiobooks. I just listen to books. I would listen to that book right before, and I slaughtered them at the table. I can remember very specifically Adam was a great guy, great sales guy, and great dude. He gave me a chance out of prison, and I'll forever be grateful for that. But I remember one time he set me down and he goes, it was right after that whole thing with the manager of the year and everything. He said, okay, I was getting offers from car dealerships to come work at car dealerships to run to work in their service departments, and do that. And he goes, what's it going to take, man, to keep you here? I said, I want 6 figures. Now, keep in mind, at Jiffy Lube, that's unheard of. Like, you don't make 6 figures as a customer service guy, like they don't do that. That's $14, $16 an hour, $18 an hour. I think it was the highest they'd ever paid somebody. And that guy was, like killing it. Well, $97 was the average. That guy was running a $122 per car that came in. I was consistently hitting 140s, 130s, 140s. I said, I want 6 figures. He laughed. I mean, like full belly chuckled at me whenever I said, I want 6 figures. And that made me so mad. Like, to this day, I can see it it burned in my brain.
Did you show it, or since you had read the book, you kept your poise?
I very much kept my cool.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And he laughed at me, and he didn't give me that 6 figures. But instead of me getting mad and going, well, screw you, I'm going to go, that next year, I made it impossible for him not to. I did so good that next year. I mean, I killed it to where the next year when I came in there, I said, this is what I want. And he was like, all right, we'll give it to you. And so I didn't get 6 figures from him. I got up to $90,000 is what they paid me for a freaking $15 an hour job where they was paying everybody else $15 an hour. I was getting $90K a year. But then what I would do is that anytime these big trucks came in, the work trucks, I would take their old tires off and I'd throw them in the back of my truck and I would sell the old tires on Facebook. So I was making about $15,000 a year doing that. So
damn.
I was able to make 6 figures of Jiffy Lube from that, from $90K salary and then $15K, just selling old tires out of their trash pile.
Wow.
Yeah. So I hit my goal. And, that was just a huge gold mine when I got out of prison. I can remember very specifically me writing down, I'm going to make 6 figures a year. I'm going to make 6 figures a year. And it took me about 4 years before I was there at Jiffy Lube making 6 figures. So then they moved me to being a district sales manager where I would go around and get fleet accounts because I was real good with the fleet cars, right? I made good relationships with the fleet drivers and the people that approved the fleet cars. And that's where the money's at, right? Fleet, right? So I was killing it. And that's one of the reasons why my sales were so high is because I just developed these relationships with people. And that's what I figured out was that I'm just really good at developing relationships. It's not that I'm just this super hardcore sales guru. I'm good at connecting with people. On a personal level, on a professional level, I'm good at relationships.
Yep.
And because of that, they want to spend their money with me. They would drive across town to come to my store. And every time I'd move to the store, they'd find out where to go. And then they'd say, no, I'm not going here. I'm going to go find Robert. And all that traffic would come to me. And so it wasn't that I was building that store up. It's that everywhere I went, the traffic was just following me because of my relationships. Yeah. And so I figured out from reading the books and all that stuff. So that was going back to that. That's what I figured out. So I was just
those are superpower.
Yeah. I'm just really good at building relationships. I'm really good at tearing walls down, we all have them, the just a-hole people, I'm just real good at just, getting people to drop their
Isn't that an interesting skill? It's always fun when you get someone that, especially in what we do with real estate, when they start out as like a 1 on the approachable scale of 1 to 10, and then you have them at like a 6 or 7 within a couple questions.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And they're 100%. like, okay, all right.
Yeah. Okay. So what are you doing? Like at that point, once they get
especially on the phone.
Yeah. That's when they're going, okay, what are you selling? Like, because, the first 10 minutes is just you just trying to get them to stop being rude to you and get them to understand that, hey, I'm just providing a service. Like I'm just offering you something you may or may not need. I don't know if you need. I don't know you, So that's big. I'm also, another superpower of mine is I'm real good at talking people down off the ledge from a high or low number, right? So like in Jiffy Lube, it was a high number. You come in for an oil change for $60 and I would bring you a $2,500 bill and say, hey, you need brakes, you need an air filter, you need air. And they would go, whoa, I just came in for an oil change. And I could talk them off the ledge. And then before you know it, they may not spend 25, but they're spending 17. Real estate with wholesaling is the same way. I could get people, I could throw out a super low number. They're going, whoa, I'm not, you're not still in my house. And I could talk them from that number. I could talk them off the ledge without them getting off the phone with me into, maybe not 23, but maybe 36. So I'm real good at that too.
And that never split the difference. It'll always tell you that low acre.
100%. Yeah. That's what it was. That's what I figured out.
Would it be absolutely crazy for me to start at?
Yeah. In a perfect world, I'd like to be,
yeah.
All the language.
That's awesome.
I use it and they say in never split the difference that the best person you can use that on is the real aggressive salesy type. And that's who Adam was. The guy that laughed at me. He was that super aggressive, egotistical, just hardcore sales.
Fast talking.
Yeah, but he was a meat salesman. He could be. He had a big ego because he was a good sales guy. Like he was that guy, So it was super easy. He was like butter in my hand because he was that guy. He was that real aggressive. I could just mirror and label him the whole time until he was just like, okay, all right, just, here you go.
I love that.
Yeah. It was
with
lovely.
the Jiffy Lube, so you're there for X amount of years doing great.
8 years, yeah.
8 years, killing it.
Yeah, doing well.
And then you got into real estate?
Yeah, so real estate has always been a passion of mine. I loved what I was doing with real estate. I felt very guilty that I let it go, in the way that I did and just became a crap POS drug addict, drug dealer.
Especially after doing it for 6 years.
Yeah, it was just so good, and I loved it, and I did it the worst way possible,
bottom of the totem pole realtor.
Yeah, people typically start out with buyers after the 18 months, 2 years. Now you're moving into listings. And no, I stayed with buyers the whole time. And I did great. Like they love me, right? So I felt I always had that that desire to get back into it. And I knew I would. But now I'm a felon. So I was like, man, I'd called, I'd done the research. I was like, they're not going to let me do it. So then I said, you know what? I'm just going to take a chance on myself. And I filed for a pardon from the government. I didn't hire an attorney. I did all the paperwork myself. It was an 18-month long process. And I filled out all the paperwork. I ran to all the places, El Reno, met with investigators, did this, gathered up all my paper. I did everything for 18 months. I jumped through hoops for them for 18 months. And I went in front of the governor's office, and it was like a panel of 10 people, his attorneys and his people, and they gave me a pardon. And so I was able to show them that, hey, yeah, I made a mistake. I was a drug addict, but I had a license before. I now have been at Jiffy Lube the entire time. I've been, become the number one salesperson. I'm a manager. I'm a district manager. I got my life together. I'm married. I got back with my son's mom. We're now having a kid. We're married. We have a good life, right? And bought a house.
Wow.
And so they were like, all right, yeah, gave me a pardon. Boom, stamped up on it. I was like, oh my gosh. So then I immediately went down and called the real estate commission, started sending emails going, hey, I did this and that. And they're like, it's still on your record though. We don't care that you got a pardon. Like, it's on your record. So I was like, okay, so what do I do now? So I called an attorney and said, what do I do? They said, you need to get an expungement. I was like, how much is that going to cost? They were like, $4,700. And I was like, I don't have $4,700, you know? Like,
after just getting the pardon. Like,
yeah.
dang.
So I called a friend of mine, Randy Line, who's one of my real good friends, best friends right now. He's a brother of mine. So I met him at Jiffy Lube. I changed his oil for years, and we just became real good friends. And I said, hey, man, here's what's going on. He said, no problem. Here's my credit card. Go pay for it. And I was like, are you sure? He's like, dude, it's like, you're going to pay me back. I believe that. I was like, okay. So he gave me his credit card. I went down and met with this attorney downtown Oklahoma City and paid for an expungement. It was supposed to be $4,000. And she was like, do you want me to scrub your record too? And I was like, what's that mean? She's like, I can make it to where all the news stations have to delete everything about you. Anything, any trace of you ever get in trouble will go away for an extra $700. And I was like, do it. And so I paid her that $4,700, and they got my expungement done with the scrub.
And the expungement can only come if you get the pardon. You can't just go up there and pay?
Well, you can get an expungement without a pardon if you have, just regular crimes. But, I had, some violent crimes and some drug crimes. So I had more than just.
So if it's lower level crime, you can go get your record just scrubbed.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Get expungement. Yeah.
That's
after
wild.
so much time. Like, it's not, you just got to go in
not
front of a
tomorrow.
judge. An attorney has to go plead your case in front of a judge. And if they think that you're okay, then you're fine.
Interesting.
But some of my crimes were violent, from robbing drug dealers. I got in trouble for robbing drug dealers. So, or a drug dealer, should I say. Anyways, so I got the expungement, and the day that she called and said, okay, it's done, I went that day and applied. Now, I'll keep in mind, when I was doing the emails and stuff, I'd already applied, and they told me no. Then I contested it, and I went in front of the real estate commission, and they looked at my freaking rap sheet. Was this long, dude? It was like 17 pages, and they were just like, "You want your real estate license?" I was like, "Yes, please, I do." And they're like, "Absolutely not." I was like, well, I got a pardon. They said, it doesn't matter. I said, okay, well, I've already filed for the expungement. Like, cause it was almost at the end. I felt like it was just like, okay, I'm doing everything right. I got a pardon. I'm fixing to get an expungement. And so I was sitting there. I was like, okay, I appreciate it. I said, I did file for the expungement. So, I mean, it's going to come through anytime. And a guy, one of the attorneys over there, stood up and he goes, young man, if you file for an expungement and it goes through, then it doesn't matter what they say. You can get your license. And I was like, okay, well, cool. Then I'll just wait. And everybody up there was like, yeah, that's just how it goes. And so I was like, all right, I'll wait. So it took some weeks after that. And then the moment it happened, I went and filed for it and I got it. So that was actually later on, actually, after I met Tez. So when I met Tez, I was working at Jiffy. I was still at Jiffy Lube, right?
And that's what you got into wholesaling.
Yeah. So I came across Tez and his videos, and he kept saying, you don't need a license to sell real estate. I was like, what? I thought this whole time, like I'd have been doing this 8 years ago. I just came straight out the gate wholesaling if I knew that it was even an option. I didn't know.
If you would have grabbed a different book by chance.
Yeah, or if he would have been on the phone then. We had phones at that point, so if I'd have just seen somebody, but I didn't. I didn't see any of his ads until later. So then I started blowing Tez up, and I started hitting him on all his socials, like going, hey, what's up? Will you teach me how to wholesale? Will you teach me how to wholesale? And he said, finally, I got him to respond. It was actually him. That doesn't happen anymore. You won't ever get Tez to respond to you personally unless you got his other number. But he was like, hey, man, I'm doing an event at the barbershop, and it happened to be right down the street from the Jiffy Lube I was at, right? And it was October. This was in 2022, okay? So October is whenever that event was, at the end of the year on October, and I went down the street to this, on my lunch break, to his little thing. It was in the back of a barbershop. And Tez will tell you, we laugh about it this day because it was just like an old barbershop on the not in the hood, but it was on 23rd Meridian in Oklahoma City. And he got up there and did his
hood adjacent.
Yeah, he got up there and did his whole pitch and everything. And I kept telling him, hey, will you just teach me? I was like, I'll pay you. He kept saying, hey man, I'm going to start coaching soon. Just give me some time. I'm putting this together. I'm going to start coaching. And if you go back and watch Tez's story, you'll see where I came into play was whenever he had got done in, I think it was some city, he went to somebody's house and they told him about coaching and he joined their program, paid him $25,000. They started teaching him. And then, so I was contacting him at that time. And so he was going, whoa, I'm almost done getting this coaching thing set up. Right. And so that's when he had left, local guys and he started, he wanted to do it full time. Well, I just happened to get him. He started posting. And I guess part of that thing was him saying, you need to start getting content, showing people what you're doing. Well, I seen it. And I was like, I'll buy it. And so I went to that barbershop and he goes, okay, I'm going to start coaching. It's going to be $497. And he goes, here's the code. And I pulled out my phone and immediately, I had no questions asked. I said, boom, paid. I said, all right, I'm in. I was the very first person that ever paid him for coaching. His very first coaching dollar came from me. And they were doing this thing where you come up and you do this stuff. And I walked up to him and I shook his hand. And I said, I'd have paid you $10,000 for that. I said, I've been wanting to learn this for a long time. I know I can do this. And so it kind of just went from there, man. I started going to his meetings every single Monday night. I think at that time we were meeting on Monday nights on Zoom, and it was an hour long. And the thing is like leading up to that, while I was in Jiffy Lube, I knew I wanted to get into real estate. So that's why I was even coming across, because I was searching stuff. I found Pace Morby, I found Jerry Norton. I was watching them religiously, but they're untouchable. Like, you're never going to run into Pace, like just in a normal setting in Oklahoma.
Now you will.
Yeah, now I did. I was with him. Yeah. So, but back then was unheard of.
Isn't that crazy though? Like how fast it can change? Because they're saying it's untouchable, and then in a couple of years of you being in the right rooms and busting your tail. Oh yeah, you're right there.
Yeah, I've been in the room and discussing deals with Jerry, with Pace now, with all the big guys, right? And so fortunate.
So interesting how it works.
But I followed them for like 3 years before that. Like I was just searching, like just learning. I knew what a wholesale was. I knew what a subject to was. I knew what all these things were. I just didn't know that I could do it without a license until Tez said, you don't need a license to do this, right? And so I just started learning it and figuring it out. And then, so by the time I did meet Tez, and I did go to that first meeting, it was about 3 weeks in, and before Tez called me one night and said, hey man, you really know a lot about this stuff already. Like, why aren't you doing this? And I told him what happened. It's like, I'm a felon. I can't get a license. I didn't even know I could do this without a license. I'd just been reading and studying up on it because I knew one day I would be able to get back into real estate, and I wanted to be ready. And he goes, well, you want to help me with this coaching thing? Like, you want to help me with the students? And I was like, yeah. He's like, so he came up with this plan where I would help take the deals that the students were finding, and I would get them across the finish line. And I would contract them. I'd negotiate for them. I'd contract it and I'd sell it. Right. And Tez would just funnel me new students every week that I could teach them how to go get deals. Like he was teaching them how to get the deals. Then once they got the deals, they would bring them to me
to learn how to close.
I'd teach them how to negotiate the contract, write the contract, and then I would get them line up a buyer. Yeah. That's when I started building my buyers list. And, so that was, I got my first deal in the middle of that. And so I was able to just be like, man, I did it. I got to my proof of concept. It was 4 months in. So it was in February 2023. I got my first deal, got my proof of concept, and it just took off from there. By the end of the year, I'd made $142,000 in my portion of assignment fees. Tez got half of everything I made. So, and then the JV partner got half of the other half. So we generated over $500,000 in assignment fees in that first year of him coaching and me JV and students.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's so much. It just
blew up. We closed I think 37 something deals. It was a crazy number.
Yeah. But even 37, that's a lot of assignment fees as far as volume.
Yeah. And the thing is, I didn't have any marketing. All I was doing was just Tez would market for students. They would pay him to become a student, and then they would go, okay, what next? And he would go to Robert. He's going to help you. And so I would teach him, hey, go do this, send out text messages, send out cards, send out whatever you got the budget for. If all you got the money is, when I first said I didn't have money for that. I was doing real good at Jiffy Lube, but I had a marijuana farm that I had invested in heavy, and it was going under fast. It was like, I got in at the end, and made a little bit of money, but it was a wash, So all I had money for was yellow signs. I ordered a pack of yellow signs from Amazon, and my wife cricketed them. I bought her a cricket for Christmas like 2 years before to make shirts and whatnot. And she cricketed my number onto the sign. And so what I did was, instead of putting them on the corners, I just took pictures in front of houses with it. And then I would just boost my pictures. So my corner My bandit sign on the corner was on social media, just putting out me in with that yellow sign saying.
And it's smart because they get picked up off the street.
Yeah. And now, of course, you can pay to have a license for them, but that wasn't a thing back then.
No, it was like you put them out on Friday and then pick them up on Sunday.
Yeah, that's it. And
to make the over six figures in the first year is insane.
Yeah.
And then you quit Jiffy Lube.
Yeah, about halfway. Yeah, so halfway through 23rd through 23, I actually busted my knee at Jiffy Lube, and I had to sit down for a little bit, and then it was just a thing where I had to work because they didn't really have people there, but I felt bad for not working, and then they wouldn't staff people, so I just got to the point where I was like, you know what, I gotta stop. I got to stop working here, and so because of that, I was able to really get on the computer full time. My knee was busted up. I was having surgery. So I was just sitting on the computer, looking at deals, looking at deals. I'm sending you a contract. I virtually wholesaled from Oklahoma City in Oklahoma City.
Yep.
I only ever stepped foot in one deal the whole year. Most of the deals, I never even stepped foot in all of the deals except for one I did. And the only reason why I stepped foot in that one is because it was right behind Jiffy Lube. I was able to go on my lunch break and see it. And I sold it to Tez. I made $20,000 off of it.
Wow.
And that was the month before I finally quit. I said, okay, I can't do this. I just can't. I can't keep coming to work and messing my knee up. And, I'd already had surgery once, and they're fixing to do surgery again. And I just, it was a bad deal. So I said, I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to give it everything I got.
And now it's been almost 3 years of just really killing it.
Yeah,
building
so
your brand with
2023. I actually put in my account $142,000 of my own money. Like I said, Tez got his portion was $142,000, and then that was only half of the JV deal. So the structure was that if there was $10,000 come in, $5,000 goes to you because you brought the deal, and then me and Tez split the other $5,000, on the JV. And I deposited $142,000.
Wow!
So it's crazy. So that tells you how much money we generated in assignment fees. And so then 2024, I got with my partner, the guy that the Logan guy. He had brought me a deal, and I looked at the deal. He didn't really know what to do with it. The same thing was a JV deal where Tez said, hey, go to Robert. So he brought me this deal, and I looked at it, and everyone said, there's nothing you can do with this. It was a church and a duplex, and they were on the same lot. The church owned the duplex, and church needed work. The duplex was completely trash. It was everything you can think of a 1970s duplex that had zero work done to it, and it was a storage unit for the church and whatnot. It was bad. And so I talked to the pastor, and I got that thing under contract for $170,000 for all 3 doors. And then 2 days later, I sold the church for $153,000. Right? Now I had money in the bank because I'd worked at Jiffy Lube and I made all that money. I had money just sitting there, and but I couldn't sell the other 2 doors. And I was like, man, this deal's going to go bad if I don't figure this out. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy them. I'll buy them myself. It was only $13,000 was all that was left. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll buy the houses. I'll buy the doors. So I bought the doors, right? And so at that point, the pressure was on. And I took it to Alex Moses. I took it to Tez. All the big players. I took it to Jimmy. I took it to everybody. Said, hey, y'all want this? Here's my vision with this. You can get this thing and blah, blah, blah. Nobody wanted it. Nobody. And everybody was just like, there's nothing you can do with that deal, man. You're kind of in a pickle there. So I was like, no, I don't think so. I think I'm going to figure this out. So I had this guy that kept asking me, will you sell me a deal? I've never done this before. He's in the military. He's like, I want to learn. So I called him up and said, hey man, you want to take a chance with me? It's like, here's what I'm seeing. This is what I see with this property. And I think you can figure this out if you'll buy it from me. And then you do this, this, and this, and you'll make money. And he was like, heck yeah, let's do it. So I got him with my hard money guy. And the hard money guy showed up, and he goes, well, what do you want for it? I said, I don't know. I said, I tell you what, you tell me what you'll loan on it, and then that's what and that's what he will pay, and I'll take that. And he looked it over and he goes, I'll give you $120,000 for it. And I was like, what? And he was like, I was even like, 120? I was like, what are you seeing? And he's like, well, this unit's worth this, and we can do this. And he said, you'll probably sell this for $250 when you're done. And I was like, okay, right? When I pitched it to Ryan, I think I was in 270s is what I was saying. And then he, worked backwards from there, but I wasn't really sure. I was like,
and you weren't far off, which is crazy.
Wasn't far off at all. And he came in and he, I had juiced him up on the way over there. I was like, hey man, I think we're going to be able to get, once it's finished, this whole thing will be worth 270. Because there was a little studio too. There was actually 4 doors. There was a little studio there too that was just a bathroom and a kitchen. And so anyways, Ryan was like, all right, I'll take it. So that house, that deal that everyone said I couldn't do anything with, I paid $13,000 for. I got 30 days later, I got a contract for $120,000 for it and closed it in 15 days. And so
made $100,000 off that deal. That was that one you talked about.
$105,368.19.
What was Tez and them thinking when he did that?
Well, Tez was all of them. Like Alex will still tell you to this day. He's like, dude, I can't believe you pulled that off. Like, and I couldn't either. But I seen it. I seen what the numbers were going for. But it was Northeast side Oklahoma. It was 23rd and Lottie. Even the people that were like, even if you do pull it off, it's the Northeast side. Like, it's a crappy area. But I had a hard money guy that seen what I seen. Didn't give me what I thought it was worth. Gave me a little bit less, but still it was enough. I was overshooting it, obviously. I had a guy that was that wanted to get into the industry that took a chance on me. And, he was like, sure, if you see it, I'll see it and I'll do it. And then, I just had money in the bank to where I can go because of my great year. And so I was able to just pay the $13,000 like it was nothing. So then when I sold it, like I said, we made $105. Now I had to split that with my JV partner, but I didn't have to split it with Tez because it wasn't a wholesale. I actually invested in it. It was investment property at that point. So I got to keep my whole portion.
What's cool is that in such a short amount of time, you've built so much and you've been acquiring and building connections. And it's cool to see the growth, especially hearing how dedicated you've been even before you got in.
Oh yeah, I was a book nerd. Like I was just reading. I was listening to podcasts and listening to the concepts, and I was reading books on how to negotiate the deals. And so I put those two together, and I took off like a rocket. So 2024, at the beginning of 2024, is when that deal happened. We made $105,000. Me and Logan decided, well, let's take our money and just start a company with it. And that's when we started Cash Buys Properties. So and then, like I said, I did $142,000 in 2023. In 2024, we brought in $1.1 million.
Just between you and Logan?
Just between me and Logan.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Between assignments, and we flipped 2 houses. Brought in $1.1 million. Then at the end of that, 2024 is when when that stuff happened, I won't go into detail about it, but we had a disagreement on how he spent some money. And so we parted ways. And I took control of all the companies, all the assets. I took control of everything because of the situation, how bad it was.
And now you're just rocking and rolling.
Yeah. So I went to my wife, April. She's, I will say in this town, like I said, April got out right before I did. And so when I was at Jiffy Lube, we had another baby. So she was a stay-at-home mom for 2 years. And then she wanted to go, she always wanted to go to school and make something of herself. So she got into OU. She got a scholarship to OU. And so she got a degree for computer science and business management. And so she was working at this roofing company, making good money. She was doing great. And I went back and told her what happened, and she was just like, man, I can't believe this. Like, you don't need to partner with anybody else. And I was like, yeah, but I need help. And I was like, I need you. I need you to quit your job. Like, I need you to quit your job and just come work with me, and let's just run this company. And she did. She put in her 2 weeks notice, and she is, more than doubled her salary, just from helping us out. In 2024, we had a pretty big crew. I had two people on the phones. I had, VAs. I had Logan. We had a pretty good crew going on at the height of it. We were spending like $48,000 a month on marketing. So we brought in a bunch of money, but we were spending money to get those leads.
Yeah.
So I did a whole lot of data research at that point too, to see what was actually working, what wasn't. And so when that happened, I think it was, it was unfortunate. But I also think it was a God thing.
Yep, always.
So so God kind of, when that happened, I got everybody left. The other 2 guys, they kind of left on their own anyway. So it was like perfect timing. And then that happened with Logan, and it was just like, I think that happened with Logan, and then it's just started creating so much turmoil in our office. It was like a month of that, and then they just seen that turmoil, and so they left. So it just got down to where it was me and Logan. And I said, okay, we're done. We got rid of all the VAs. I just put everything at a stop. I said, I'm done. And he agreed to just sign over everything so that I wouldn't go any further with, stuff. And so anyway, so I got the companies, and I was just like, man, now I got this brand that we just been working on for a whole year, and I got this, I got money here. And that was another thing, is like, whenever all that stuff happened with the money thing, I had invested $85,000 into our company over that span, that I would, I'd pay to get us into the deal, and, I'd pay for marketing here and there. You know how it is, we're in a company. We brought in a bunch of money, but
you had to spend.
We had to spend money. And a lot of times when there was a gap, I was investing.
Yeah, because
I would just be like, yeah, I had all this money.
I'll take care of it.
I had 6 figures in the bank just sitting there. You're
like, I'll handle it.
I don't play the stock market. I don't play Bitcoin. I don't do that. I was just like, real estate, put it in real estate.
Yeah.
So I was leveraged. The company owed me $85,000 at the time. And so, like I said, I took everything back. I took the assets. I sold off the flips that we had. And thank goodness it was 2 real good flips.
Thank goodness.
One of them made me like $77,000. The other one made me like $84,000. So I got my money back plus some. So I started, 2025 with, the company. I sold off all the houses, but I also went down to no employees and no marketing. But at the end of 2025, I started doing mailers. Right? I got with RE Simply. Mm-hmm. Adam over at RE Simply, he's great. And so I got with him, and he started doing checks for me. And I was spending like $55 a month on it, but we were getting a ton of good leads from it. We were getting good leads.
$55 compared to $45,000 is unrecognizable.
Yeah, $6,500 to $48 was crazy.
$5,500.
Yeah, $5,500.
That's still a difference.
Yeah, huge. So April and I looked at our year and was like, man, we sold all these houses to make all this money on these wholesales, but we only did these 2 flips and just killed it. And we loved it. We were like, man, we get to go out and design these houses. We get to, so we know, let's set a goal to flip 20 houses this year. And
so 2026, that's what the goal is?
No, that was in 2025.
Oh, okay.
So by this time, this was the end of 2024 when the split happened. Beginning of 2025,
Pause real quick. I'm going to hook up this battery.
Okay.
My bad.
No, you're good. I'm sorry. I talk a lot, so.
Bro, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
I know we're getting close. It's all good.
So
I just don't want I don't want it to die on us.
Yeah.
There we go, right there. We're good to go.
So,
so the 20 houses.
Yeah. So 2025 April. I'm talking to April. I'm doing it on my own at first, and I set a goal. I said I want to flip 20 houses this year. So I just started getting real aggressive, man. I got with Robbie, who is a great lender. I got with him. He actually, I met him because he seen my billboards and called me and was like, hey man, are you buying houses? I said, yeah. He said, I want to lend you money. I was like, okay, and so I think I used Scott for my first flip, and I used another guy. I don't remember who he was for the other. Scott's great, but I used another guy for another one, and I kind of got a feel for it. And so I had something to go off of, and I told Robbie, I said, what can you do? And he told me, I said, well, that's what I'm getting from everybody else. And he said,
well, I can do better then.
Well, he's like, well, I'll do better. So he gave me a real good deal, to use him, and that's all I used. That was like for the first 6 months I used Robbie. And so
it makes it consistent when you can have that seamless.
Yeah, that was another thing. And he's a great guy. He's a great culture around him. It's just, he's a good dude, and so going to his club and hanging out, and, I really like Robbie. He's become a good friend of mine. But he took a chance on me, and he's like, I just want to be your lender. I want to be your guy. So I started doing flips, and like I said, I set a goal for 20, and I ended up flipping 15 last year. We did 15 flips,
and that's so much work. Like, even though you did an amazing job, like that's a lot of work. Like that's something to be happy about, because that's a lot of work.
It is, and we had a great time doing it, man. And so we love it so much. Like, it doesn't feel like work for us. Like, so we got to where, like, me and my wife, we were like, dude, we only work Monday through Thursday. Fridays we go garage selling in the morning. We'll take calls, but we just go by and visit our flips and just kind of, write checks and check on everybody and that stuff. And then the weekends we're hanging out with the kids, But I've been able to, I take my kids to school every morning. I pick them up from school every day. I don't miss a single parent-teacher conference or play or sporting event. And that's the wealth to me, man. Like, I'm making good money, but I'm also like very present in my kid's life. Mm-hmm. And so that's been the huge, blessing for us. And then, like I said, halfway, about 3 months into to 2025, April quit her job, and now we just started doing it full time. Like I said, we ended up flipping 15. We made an average of $55,000 off each flip.
That's insane.
Yeah, we only wholesaled one house in 2025. We wholesaled it, made $30,000 off that. So that was a good little chunk. But we only did.
That
one.
means, but all the numbers you're giving me, that's only telling me that you're buying so right. Because to average 55 on a flip in a tough market is insane.
But it's because I was the only one negotiating.
Yep.
So I negotiate. I've negotiated.
And you're
every
direct
flip.
to seller.
Yeah, direct to seller, and I've negotiated every flip. So we didn't make near as much money in 2025, but it was only, we had no staff. It was just me and her, and our marketing budget, we got our marketing budget down to just $1,500 a month. That's all we spend. Even to right now, we only spend $1,500 a month.
But that's the thing when you see those posts about like how rich, it's such a weird word, but how rich someone is. They're like, yeah, he makes $100,000 a year, but he spends $99,000 a year.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, they make $100,000 a year, but they spend $20,000 a year. Like,
Yeah.
I know those are simple numbers, but you see the gap when that overhead goes
Huge.
down.
Yeah, I thought I was just hot stuff. I
Like,
was
how much
man,
can I keep?
I made 7 figures in this, and then I got to looking. I was like, holy cow! I actually only on my taxes claimed like I only actually made like 150. I was all said and done. I only claimed 50 something, So it's like crazy the difference. So and then you see these people are like, yeah, well, you know what you brought in, but what'd you actually make?
Keep?
Yeah, what'd you keep? And so I did only keep about 150, but so did Logan. So we actually generated like 300.
It's actually a pretty profitable business.
And then we paid our guys. We were paying them a salary plus commission. So
that's sustainable too. Like that's a business model.
Dude, $150,000 a year. I'm very good with that.
That's a business model right there,
Yeah.
where you just keep that flowing. But the refining it and now being in an even better place with your wife, like
100%.
it's a totally different business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now we made the same goal this year. Our goal this year is to flip 20 houses, and we're going to do it. So like I said, we got our marketing down. We're starting a little bit of new stuff with Adam that he's starting. We're going to roll with him on his new venture with marketing, but we're going to keep our checks in place, our mailers. So, and that's what we're doing. Another thing, like, and in 2024, at the end of 2024, in October is when I got my license. So the whole story about my license hit in 2024.
Got it.
So just so you know. I went in front of the judge and whatnot when I was still at Jiffy Lube, or I went in front of the board and got my pardon while I was still at Jiffy Lube. But it took the expungement a long time, so it wasn't until I was out of Jiffy Lube and doing real estate, wholesaling full time, that I got my expungement and was able to go get my license. But in 2025, I sold 28 houses total. So 15 of those were flips. So the other were on market. I did $7 million in volume, just under $7 million in volume on retail.
Hustling.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy? Like once you refine that, if you just stay at 30, you could be more profitable when you had 100 a year as far as deals.
Exactly. Yeah. My goal, just like everybody else, is $1 million a month in retail. And, we're putting it in place. I don't have a team or anything. It's just me and her.
Yep.
Yeah. Me and April. So this year is our big focus is start building the right people around us to help with some of these deals, give up some of the profits so that we can do more deals and scale and kind of build a business, not a job. Because right now we have a job, straight up. If I don't go to work, I'm not making money. So
no, I understand, because I'm in the transition now too, where I'm like, you know what, it's finally time to space.
Yeah.
And so I understand.
And you got to create space. It doesn't just come.
No.
And I think from what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing in my experience, finding the right people around you is the worst thing to, not worst. It's the hardest thing to do.
Yes, it's a tough thing.
And I do say the worst because I feel scorned, a couple of the people I brought in around me, they took my systems and they left, and then a couple of people just straight up stole exactly what I was doing and just went and shared it with other people. And then one of my business partners just straight up took money from me. It's just like, man, just one thing after another.
But you get tested,
Yeah. And that's, exactly how I look at it. God had to take me through a couple things so he could kind of see. And to the point where now April's just like, no more partnerships. We are not partnering with a single person. It's just us. We'll hire the people we need. We don't need anybody else. We'll just hire people until we find the right person. And then, we'll just give them more responsibility. And so we're like, yeah, that's where we're at right now. So,
man, your story is insane. And I know we're touching on things, so there's like so much more depth.
I could talk for 3 days about the whole thing.
That we'll learn. Like,
I need to write a book.
You really should. That could be another piece to the puzzle for you. But
I feel that it's going to happen at some point. I think about it a lot, about putting this stuff down and actually getting my timeline straight. Because some of this stuff is like I'm regurgitating like through a fire hose right now and trying to fill a shot glass. So I know some of my timelines are off. But if I really sit down and think about it, I could put it all in order and really
how cool would that be?
Yeah.
And that's totally another piece of your puzzle where you're like, oh, I'm on a book tour.
Yeah. How cool is that?
But I just want to say thank you. Being open, vulnerable, honest, and just how successful you are.
Yeah.
And not just monetary. So it's like, all I can say is thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I knew I was excited to sit down with you, but bro, like, thank you for this.
I'll tell you one other thing I left out is one of the very first meetups. I'll tell anybody up there, go to meetups. Like go to the networking events, go to the meetups, go to the conferences. That it's like recharging your batteries. It just they changed my life. The AW Growth event in San Antonio by Aaron Bevins. You know who Aaron is? Okay,
great guy.
Love him. He's my
Aaron's
guy.
the best, man.
Love you, Aaron. So I went to with Tez. It was like me and Tez and like 12 other people.
Yeah, I remember you got the place.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't stay there. I stayed with April and in my own place.
What's funny is I left 2 days before that out of the country. And
Oh,
he was
yeah.
like, you should come down. I was like, I will. And then I think that was on the 18th and I was leaving on the 16th or something.
Yeah. Well, so when that happened, that was in like January or something. It was like end of 2024 or 2022, beginning of 2020. I know I hadn't had my first deal yet.
Yep.
Okay. But I was in the group, right? So it was in that 4 months between October and February.
Yep.
And so I go down there, and this tells you how green I am. So Tez is on stage. That's my guy. That's my mentor. He's on stage. He's, I'm like feeling like I'm somebody, and Aaron comes up, and I'm introduced. I'm like, hey, my name's Robert English. Happy to be here. Happy to be here. Well, I meet Aaron, and Aaron. He's gorgeous, just gorgeous smile, and he's like just so
positive.
lovely, and man, such a positive.
You shake his hand, and you're like, damn.
Yeah, and he's just like, man, this guy is just like someone you want to be around, right?
Yes,
like he's going somewhere. And so, but he's also, it's his deal. It's his thing, him and Q. Like this was back when him and Q was together, and it was their thing. He was hosting it. And it's just great energy. And I was like, man, I want to meet that guy. And so I go up and I meet him. Tez introduced me. I shake hands, and it was after the whole deal. It's like the last day. And I said, I shook his hand. I said, I'm going to be on your stage. I'm going to be on stage with you one day. And he goes, well, to be on my stage, man, you got to show me a HUD where you're making over 600 or 6 figures a year. And I said, what's a HUD? I had no clue. He was like, it's the piece of paper that shows how much money you make at the end of a deal. I was like, oh, okay.
You're like, but I made that on one deal.
Cool. Well, I hadn't yet.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, thinking
Yeah.
back.
But at the time, I didn't even know what a HUD was.
Yeah.
I had no clue what he was talking about. Obviously in real estate, we call it a settlement sheet, a settlement stay or settlement sheet, but I didn't know it was called a HUD, you know? And so I was like, I don't even know what that is, And so he laughed, and I laughed, and he left, and I felt like an idiot. And anyway, so fast forward to OKC Evolve.
Yep. Such a monumental moment.
Yeah.
Shout out Tez for throwing the event.
Oh, that was huge. That was the
huge.
best event that Oklahoma's ever seen. I can't wait for him to do it again. He's got to do it again. But
I'm excited for when he does the Arizona.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be there.
I'll be out there too. That's
Phoenix is awesome anyway.
Yeah. I've never been there, but if Tez is there and he's throwing an event, I try to show up.
Yeah, OKC Evolve was awesome. It was an opportunity for you to speak. It was an opportunity for me to speak.
Yeah, we were on stage together too. Yeah. So, but Aaron was there and he was hosting it. And so that was the first time I'd seen him again since then. And so I go up to him and I'm so excited. When I see him, I was like, oh my gosh.
You're like, hey, I know what a HUD is.
Yeah. So I'll go and I say, hey man, do you remember? He was like, yeah, of course I remember. He remembered April. He was like, where's April at? And I felt so honored that he even remembered who I was and who my wife was. Like, it was just like, man, this guy's real. And I was like, I got to tell you about what happened. He's like, what's up? I said, you remember how you told me that in order to be on stage with you, I had to make 6 figures in a year? And he was like, yeah, that's the rule. I said, well, I did it in one deal. And he was like, what? And so we went over and I kind of told him the deal, and he was like, holy cow. And I told him how much money we made that year. And he was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I got to talk about it and this and that. So he got to introduce me on stage. So I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I told him in 2023 that I was going to be on stage with him. And in 2024, I was on stage with him.
And just like when Aaron was talking to you in the jail cell about circling back and helping someone, you helped someone.
Yeah, 100%.
Bro, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
you for having me on.
I can't wait to have you on again, man. This is awesome. And I love it because just like at the beginning of the episode, I said, man, it's been great to have a relationship with you. And it's even more now. I appreciate you sharing the space, bro.
Yes, sir. Well, this is only the second podcast I've ever been on. So Tez, remember back when Tez was doing his, was the Blueprint Pod. I went on that with him, and that was great. But this is the only other one I've ever been invited to. So
well, you're always welcome.
I appreciate that.
You're always welcome, bro. The door is open, and I know we have a good relationship, but it's always the up and up with me and you. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for being here.
God bless you.
God bless you, man.